Time for the crossover. It's powered by Everlow Concrete Repair in Omaha at everlowconcrete.com.
That was loud.
Getting hot. I like it. I like it.
That was loud.
We're back, folks. We're back.
Hold on. Let me. They gave out, just like they did for Big Ten, they gave
Yeah,
out generic.
They started tossing everybody hats. No, there's no.
It looks nice.
It's a great hat.
It's a good hat. I like the side patch, too.
We're throwing it in the rotation.
I
got a shirt.
Let's
too.
be honest. You have not taken that off since Saturday night.
I wore it coming back, and I wore it most of yesterday, and I wore it mowing, and I wore it today. So yes, I've worn it every day. Yeah.
How did the mow go?
Great mow. Excellent
Good.
mow. Sorry, I didn't shut that.
You mowed before the rain?
I did. Snuck it right in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was. Now it's looking real nice.
Was it your morale boosted during the mow because you're on the way to Fayetteville, Arkansas?
And your second favorite baseball team is also in the tournament?
My morale was very good the entire time. I'm very, very happy and blessed to be in the situation that I am in. And my mow was also good.
So Peter's in today. Does that mean because Josh is upset that Nebraska baseball made the NCAA tournament?
Yes, Josh had to cancel himself. He is on 1-day suspension because he was so wrong about. Actually, he said on whatever day, Thursday, he was like, I think Nebraska will make it all the way to the final and lose. I didn't hear many people saying that.
You picked them to lose on Tuesday.
I picked them to lose to Oregon.
You picked them to lose to Michigan State.
I probably picked them to lose to Michigan State.
I listened to that whole segment. It was a great segment.
Thank you.
I was standing at the urinal next to Brunsey Saturday morning.
Michael.
And he said, you know what? I think if Nebraska beats Oregon, they're going to win the whole thing.
And he was right.
I said, I got to zip up first.
Hang on. I'm not ready for that.
But I will tell you this. So talking to the Oregon people, playing at 7 a.m.
Probably not good.
Was an issue.
Probably not good.
Because their pitcher, so Grayson Grinsell, who is one of the best pitchers in college baseball, looked like he had just gotten up. They were sloppy early, and Nebraska took advantage of it, and they never gave it back.
Yeah.
But the Oregon guys were like, this is, you know what? This is kind of cool. And of course, all the Nebraska guys were like, hey, man, I can't wait. You guys are going to be back here in a couple of weeks. It'll be a much different atmosphere.
Yeah.
And they're like, and the one guy, kind of the main guy for Oregon, was like, yeah, this is kind of cool. But we just don't want to play at 7 a.m. They got their guys up. Their guys up in their body clock to come to the ballpark and have breakfast and all that stuff.
Sure.
They were up at 4:30.
Well, 4:30 Central or 4:30
their
time.
Clock.
So 6:30.
Because you know, they didn't bang the game Friday night until about 9:30.
Yeah, that was a mess.
Yeah.
Now, so here's my thing though. They were in Omaha for 4 days.
Oh, they were in Omaha for the entire week.
Well,
yeah,
they came straight from Iowa
They came
City.
straight from Des Moines.
So like their body clock
City,
should be adjusted by that point. They're not playing. They're not coming from Europe.
No, man, like it's real. It's
like after 5 days though.
Even one time zone screws it up.
After 5 days though.
But it's your.
I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know. I'm not arguing. I'm honestly asking.
This is Oregon baseball. How Creighton and Nebraska are a little bit different. Oregon baseball was home before the Penn State-Nebraska game ended.
Yeah, get them out.
Oh my God!
Send them home.
Well, they got they apparently had a flight for Sunday. They lost, and then magically a plane appears in Omaha to fly them to Eugene.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I thought they were going to lose to Penn
Seriously,
State.
The time in between games this week is just like massive. It's a grind to make it through those tournaments.
Oh yeah,
and then you got to go right back out and play again. It probably it may have cost them a national seed.
It did.
It may have cost them a national seed.
Well, and then so USC needed a last second walk off to make sure they were in the tournament.
Potentially even make the tournament.
Yeah.
So people care about the Big Ten. They watch the Big Ten.
Conference tournaments rock
on TV.
Conference tournaments rock
on
and
TV.
are important. And are
clearly
yes.
Your conference. Holy Lord.
Yes.
Well,
what a hunka.
I didn't think about it. I didn't even think about it until yesterday.
Was there
my God. If they wouldn't have won, they wouldn't have been going.
Was there a moment where you were at the watch party and you're like, holy crap, UConn isn't.
I talked to multiple people about this at the watch party. Like, if they wouldn't have won, we wouldn't have made it.
Yeah.
I know. And I thought all they had to do was at least beat St. John's, but we were all wrong. How would you feel about this? Let me float this idea to you.
Ideas.
Because we got to work on the Big East baseball.
Why? What's wrong with it?
I think I think Creighton should not play any Big East teams until the conference tournament.
How does that work?
Yeah.
They just schedule on their own.
You're not allowed to
But
do
then,
that. You have to be in a
but you got to.
conference.
Don't you have to have a certain conference record to qualify for the tournament?
Everybody makes the tournament. There's only, 6 teams?
There's 7.
7 make the
Oh,
tournament?
no, there's 8.
Are there 8? Okay, so it would be pretty even.
With UConn now.
And you could still play a double elimination and wouldn't get sideways.
Yeah.
I think if I'm coaches in that league, and first of all, not everybody plays the same because some people play at high school stadiums where they don't have lights, so you have to play in the afternoon.
Shout out to Butler.
Isn't Georgetown like that too?
Georgetown doesn't really have a field. They've had 7 different home fields in the last 5
Doesn't
years.
Villanova bounce around?
Villanova has their own park.
Okay.
Villanova has their
But do they have lights?
It's a disaster, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like
Big East baseball, everything's a
if
disaster.
you're Creighton and UConn, you look around and go, whoa, not everything is created equal. I love Ed's idea of a regional conference. And I don't think they would allow him to do it in the Big Ten. But imagine if you had KU, K-State, Nebraska,
Creighton,
Omaha,
Wichita State,
where that would be, look at what you could do to your RPI compared to playing in the Big East where you get zapped. I mean, UConn should be in. UConn is not in. So I think it's not an overreaction. I think you have to figure out why a UConn schedule. Is it because they played too many conference games? I mean, they lost the most important one, losing the series here.
Mm-hmm.
I think you probably have to look at that at the Big East because that was a bad day.
So
for that conference.
Xavier and UConn were 39th and 40th respectively in RPI. Miami was 41st. They made the tournament. Western Kentucky was 43rd. They made the
UConn win
tournament.
2 of 3 against Miami in the non-con?
The problem is, yes, they beat UConn. I believe they beat Vanderbilt once.
Didn't Arizona State make the tournament too?
They beat North Carolina. UConn beat North Carolina in the regular season too. So the problem is that UConn and Xavier, they both scheduled like crazy. Xavier, you understand it because Xavier didn't win any of it.
No.
I mean, Xavier just went down and got their faces beat in for a month and a half, and then took the RPI that came along with it.
They tricked the system.
UConn actually, I mean, they had been to 6 straight NCAA tournaments and a super regional in there, and they scheduled and they won.
Yeah,
they were 38 and 21.
Yeah, and they finished in a virtual tie for the regular season and went to the Big East final. Like that team should be in. That's a bad message to send. That's a bad precedent. Xavier, I get it. You know, they didn't win the games that they were supposed to.
Did you steal anything? Did you take stuff off the wall? Did you take signs? Did you bring back any artifact?
You know, there's not much. Well, they were giving away. They were giving away. So Saturday was the championship game, right?
Mm-hmm.
Saturday was a championship game, and it was also Chick-fil-A night. There one night every Big East tournament, the local Chick-fil-A comes in and they start handing out Chick-fil-A sandwiches.
Okay.
And it's a big deal. It's Chick-fil-A night. And so people are streaming in. And then they also had a tent that was giving away all the shirts that you could imagine. And the shirts on them said Chick-fil-A night at Prasco Park. And I definitely got one of those.
That's awesome.
So now I have a weird green shirt that says Chick-fil-A night at Prasco Park.
That
was my favorite.
I thought you made up Chick-fil-A night. Like I didn't know that it was like an actually branded.
It's a real life thing. It's one of the most absurd places I've ever experienced.
That tournament's not leaving there, is it?
That tournament is never leaving.
Dude,
there.
that charcuterie board that you were eating at,
in the tent,
ridiculous. And then they brought in the space heater.
They brought us a space. We didn't even request it. It was just there, you know. And at one point, it ran because the UConn guys who were sitting in the spot before us, they were using it. And they were like, "Oh, we tried to keep it down for you guys to save propane." And I was like, "Oh, that's really nice." So then it did run out on us, and 10 seconds later, a guy rolls up with a new propane tank. I mean, it's incredible.
Do you know what you sound like? You sound like a guy who flew first class on an airplane for the first time, and you couldn't believe how comfortable and nice everybody is, but you just experienced that with baseball.
Probably.
It's the best way of putting it.
Yeah,
I mean, that's incredible.
Everything was it was first class. It was well done. The playing field is great. The dimensions are wonky and absurd, and just the whole thing is just an absurd deal.
When the ball goes above the lights.
Yeah, it's gone. Goodbye.
You're in trouble.
You're screwed. It's gone. It's up into the air and it's just gone. You'll find it when it comes back down, but it might be too late.
Did you feel blessed after being there?
I did. We prayed. And,
A lot.
Yeah.
A lot of prayer.
I had a pregame prayer every game.
Post-game prayer. Fifth inning prayer.
But it wasn't super in your face.
Yeah.
You know, like they were good about it.
It wasn't over the top.
Now, the thing that I bring back is, so we talked about the music that they play.
Yeah.
They rotated through about 6 songs.
Oh.
The whole week.
What were the 6?
They were all basically gospel rap music.
Oh.
It was good, great songs, but they're seared into my head for a lifetime now. They're all in there.
Even
They're
they
just
couldn't,
there.
but they couldn't get a bigger catalog of gospel songs.
No,
Like why only? I feel like all those songs are playable. No,
they tried to find the right combination of like cool hip hop with also like great message. You know.
Okay.
I mean, there's some people who do that outside of gospel.
I don't know. There was a lot. There was one time in like a late game situation, they played the little stinger of everybody clap your hands. And I was like, whoa, what's going on? And then that was it. Never again. They just did that one time. It's absurd.
So you're going to go from that atmosphere.
Yeah. Now the dudes are going to be drinking beer out of their butt.
Please tell me,
Jeez.
because you don't play until 7 on Friday.
Yeah.
That for the North Dakota State, and by the way, Nolan Johnson is the pitcher of the year in the Summit League.
That's right.
Don't overlook the Bison.
Watch out.
Don't look at the record.
Arkansas likes to choke in the postseason, I've heard.
They do. Please
So
tell
I've
me
been told.
Please tell me that you're going to be in the hog pen.
I will take a stroll. I mean, I experienced.
No, I'm not a stroll.
I'm not
I want
be
you to
getting
walk-
hammered in the hog pen.
I
You
want you to
should.
walk
If you have a
into the
day
hog
off,
pen.
you should get rinsed,
It's
dude.
not a day off. It's a day off.
If you have
we
a
play
day,
Kansas.
do you have is there a day where you're just in Fayetteville?
Thursday, but they're not active. But
Okay. So you should go to the game on your
there
own. Bring
is
your
no
pass.
game.
Oh, nobody's playing.
Yes.
Oh, you should just go to a local sports bar then.
Well, I so the last time I went there in 2021, following Nebraska, I saw it all, and it was,
Yes.
You said that
so
scarred.
It was
so did
great.
Mojo Hagee.
Mojo Hagee got it all, and we had this discussion while we were still wrapping things up in Cincinnati. They're gonna love Garrett Langrel. They're gonna
He
love.
will give it to him.
Oh yeah. He's
gonna
gonna
be
be
great.
barking right back. This is gonna be very, very different than what we were at. There is no ban on cuss words in Fayetteville, Arkansas.
You might be hammered in the booth.
There is no ban on cuss words.
No space heater though.
But we'll have a booth.
You'll have a booth.
We'll have protection over our heads and doors, I think. Maybe even, nat sound and things like that. So that's great.
Well, one thing you will have, again, so you were there in 21, Nebraska was there. The non-Arkansas games, people will stay and watch.
Mhm.
So you'll have a good crowd because I imagine
There'll be
there will
some Creighton
be
people. There'll be some
there'll be-
Kansas people.
But there will also be a lot of Arkansas people that stick around for the 7:00 game,
Mhm.
even when they get beat.
And they'll be
Are
doing
they, do they have the whole? That's Mississippi State, right?
Not the Cowbells.
Not the
No
Cowbells.
Cowbells.
No
They
Cowbells.
have the
They have phrases and calls.
they have beers on head.
Okay. Do they have foghorns?
No, like
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
I don't think so. They just do beers. I forget the scenario in which beers on head comes up. I can't. 2 strikes with 2 outs, maybe, or a 3-2 count. They have these hats.
Yeah.
They're these foam hats.
Oh,
That's a tall glass.
2
of
strikes with 2 out.
2 strikes with 2
Yeah.
outs. And either they have the hats, the kids have the hats, the adults have actual beers, and they put them on top of their heads.
Hell yeah.
And
I love that.
yeah, it's unbelievable.
Are they the one that does ball 5?
That's
ball
Texas
5?
A&M.
That's Texas A&M.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So I'm getting my
But
college baseball
The
SEC
trip there in
traditions all
21,
macked
because
up.
the facilities are unbelievable.
I mean,
That
that wasn't completely done yet in 21.
and they were already nice.
Yeah.
So the administration in Nebraska, they went on a tour and they were like, "Will, would you like some of this stuff?" And he was like, yeah.
I was like, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. And nothing happened. They didn't do it.
No.
they didn't do any of it.
Well, because they thought about one of the things, like there's stuff they need to do with the clubhouse, the offices.
Yeah.
pitching lab, all that stuff. But they had talked about turning the left field berm in Haymarket Park into a smaller, centralized version of the hog pen.
And the Salt Dog said,
They're like,
they literally have grills that are
crazy.
built into the berm.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
You could walk in with your cooler.
So we've talked about this. So the student interest for baseball isn't really like that high
At Nebraska.
No. It really isn't. Like, if there are people who like baseball who go to the games, but there is never a, hey guys, there's a game tonight, we got to go. The easiest way to make that happen is let the
People
students
drink actively.
Let the students bring coolers. Like, let them bring coolers. Let them roll them in. Put them GA in like the bleachers or on the berm or whatever, and let them chill out there. And you will get so many students to go to baseball games.
Oh yeah.
It will be that would be an event.
We went to that game in Indianapolis.
Yeah.
Where in center field you could do that.
Yeah.
But you have to stay in the outfield.
Yeah.
You just bring in your cooler, you have a picnic, and you just sit around.
Pack a couple salami sandwiches.
Yeah. It's a special deal. It's very, very unique.
It is not for. There are a lot of young kids out there. It is not for the faint of heart.
No.
It's funny.
It's aggressive.
They go to Arkansas. Hey, Will, you want any of this stuff? Too bad.
They came back with like so many ideas. They were like, yes, we want to do all this, and then none of it happened because they had Bill Moose at the
How
time.
many days were they out there in Arkansas to like tour this
Like
place?
4.
They were out there for
Jesus.
4. Yeah.
I mean, they went all the way to Game 7. You know, they went to Game 7.
I forget. Oh, so they did this whilst they
Oh.
were in the play. I thought you said they just went out there to go out there.
Okay,
Okay.
they were playing.
And Kevin Kopps is still pitching.
And the minors.
I think also they came out of there and like, hey, Will, would you like some more money?
Uh-huh.
Like, yeah, certainly.
That also did not happen.
Yeah.
Will, thanks for a great season. You get nothing, pal.
Good question from Charles on the YouTube. Do they allow wine in the hog pen? KU and Creighton fans would like to know. Interesting.
Box wine.
Hey,
Only if
I'm
it's
going
box
to tell you
wine.
something right
Slap in
now.
the bag.
Don't knock it till you
Slap in
try
the
it.
bag in the hog.
Don't knock it till you try.
Shout out to the Franzia.
Let me tell you
Everyone,
something right
Creighton
now.
fans, bring the Franzia to Fayetteville.
All these
You know,
blue collar.
do they still serve that at the K?
I don't know.
They used to serve like a special wine.
That's
Oh.
awesome.
Wine at the K.
All these blue collar Nebraska fans. You go to the Lexus Club one time and you tell me, okay? I'm just saying.
Good take, Matt.
Like,
Good take. Good
I'm not a J-Sker or a Creighton fan or anything, but I'm just saying when you're given the opportunity to watch a basketball game in such luxury,
It's very good.
it's incredible.
It
is one of the better
deal.
in-game experiences I've ever had. I even bought the buffet. I got there early.
Of course you
I
did.
got there at when they opened the doors, and I got there and it was a great spread.
Of course you did. Of course.
What is that? I know. I take advantage of things.
That's what I'm talking about. By the way, I was in your town. I visited both of your airports over the last 5 days, and I did get some Garrett's cheesy corn
Attaboy.
Ooh,
on
yeah.
Sunday.
Garrett's is better
That
than.
was my birthday present to myself.
Oh, happy birthday!
Thank you.
Have you had nuts on Clark?
Yes.
What do you prefer?
I don't know.
Okay.
I haven't thought about it that
Okay.
much.
Don't worry. You eventually you need to come to a
Nuts on
decision.
Clark is better.
No.
Garrett's
Garrett's is better.
Garrett's is better.
Good.
Garrett's, but
Nuts
it's a
on
big.
Clark is more prevalent in Midway.
Yes.
Okay.
Where were you flying out of?
Well, we flew
American or United?
Well, we
or-
were American on the way and Southwest on the way back.
Okay. Next time you fly American, have you been in that Frontera? It's by gate K.
You talk about O'Hare.
O'Hare.
No,
Got
I haven't been to O'Hare in probably 15 years.
I thought you said you went to O'Hare.
Before
Oh,
Tuesday. Or
gotcha,
whatever that
gotcha.
was. Yeah.
Next time we go to O'Hare, you got to find a Frontera. It's a
Okay.
the worst kept secret is that those Fronteras at O'Hare are like some of the best restaurants. Period. Incredible. Get yourself a corn and poblano chowder.
Wow. All right. Thank
Yeah,
you.
All
and maybe
correct.
Kind of
and-
heavy for the
Yeah.
heavy to eat
I
before you
got,
hop on a flight.
I got a ham, egg, and cheese from something.
Okay.
That's
Yeah, corn and poblano
Similar.
chowder, and then I've always liked the chorizo and queso torta that they have there,
The torta.
and then they make some pretty hammering lime margaritas.
Okay.
Now, but they're all on the rocks.
Yeah, I didn't have that much time, and it was 8 o'clock.
So
in the
can
morning.
you tell that? Can you tell that I spent 2 hours at the airport yesterday because
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
I got there super early because I don't have my real ID, and
That's right.
and so
Get an ID.
so the
What's your
so
problem?
I walk up to the checkpoint and the guy goes, it's 2:00 and my flight's at 5. And the guy's like, you don't have a real ID? I go, no. He goes, you got to go to checkpoint 9. He goes, when's your flight? I go, 5:00. And he goes, oh, you have time. So I walk over to checkpoint 9. I get there. I hand the TSA guy my real ID or my ID that's not real. He scans it. He scans it. He looks at it. He looks at me and goes, you're good. And I'm like, I don't have to go through. And he goes, I don't care. And I just walked through security.
Look at that.
And he just let me go. So I ended up having just 3 hours to myself at O'Hare and spent way too much money.
TSA has given up on the real ID program.
I think when I went to Epley, when I flew out of Epley, they did not. They made me go through extra security.
Oh, did they?
And they were like,
Hey.
dude, you got to get a real ID.
Watch out, because Epley is a disaster right now.
At O'Hare,
And some people could just sneak right in there.
at O'Hare, they were like, they did not care.
You can get wine.
Oh, good.
The wine.
Wine is available. I had this, me and Chris Basnett in 21 went to
Sports bar.
a random burger place that they told us to go to.
But didn't you go to
was,
it twice?
It was
I
very
remember
dark and red.
I remember multiple photos.
Yes, I took a very poor picture of Chris Basnett that I could pull up.
We're doing a radio show today type picture.
Yeah. Oh, I've used it probably several times.
Have you been alerted to some of the restrictions tonight at Werner Park?
No. What do you mean? What do you mean?
I'm very worried that
Can't hold me
Caglione
back.
will hit a home run, and we sometimes have some problems with StatCast.
Oh,
I'm very worried. That
Peter.
that you as the on-field MC are not supposed to go hang with him when he's in the on-deck circle.
That was not in my plans. I wasn't.
But you're going to say something to him, right?
I don't think I'm going to make any reference.
You could go up and go, "Hey, remember me from last year?"
I don't think that I don't really talk much to the players while I'm doing
But this
my job.
guy's no, and that's respectful. I like you're a pro.
But this is the
But-
guy
but-
that you have most looked
Yeah.
forward to ahead of Bobby Witt Jr.
This is like your
Close
future.
personal
Alex
friend.
Gordon.
This is your future
Dwayne
superstar.
Hosey.
I don't think there's with how much you
Nice.
love the Kansas City Royals. I don't think there's any problem with you walking up to Caglione and being like, "Hey, Jack, welcome to Omaha," or like shaking his hand,
I've already
or saying 4
I've
words
already
to him.
talked
Better yet,
plenty to
mid
Cags.
at bat.
Yeah, I'll just walk right up there. I've already talked plenty with Cags. We have a professional relationship.
Okay,
and-
I didn't know that. I
and-
just assumed you haven't. Seen
Well, he's been the College World Series for the last 2 years.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a really good point.
yeah.
Yeah,
He
Well,
he
never
likes it
mind.
here. He loves it. By the way, here's the picture, Matt. I took a Baz at this burger place. How's that one look? Remember Baz, by the way?
he does not.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
He does not. That's not a nice picture.
We were very happy.
You're
I
not.
also got him trying on a hog head.
You're not.
and
You're,
he was not enjoying it.
that is not a good friend picture.
Here, we could check out the here. There he is. Check out Baz right there. Putting on that hog hat.
Put on that hog hat, boy.
Yeah.
Well, you like that hog hat.
Man, that place was rocking. I'm excited for Nebraska to end up in Chapel Hill. That's very, very cool. I think
it's a great looking ballpark.
it's an excellent ballpark. And
It's a beautiful state.
they'll have to go through some very difficult pitchers to get to where they want to go.
Their most difficult game might be the first one.
And then the second one.
Well,
And then the third one is
gotta
gonna.
get past- gotta get past the first
one-
rounder.
The third one's
The,
fine.
the third one, you're gonna have a lot
Hey,
of pressure on you.
once you get past that first one and you win, I mean, then you at least go 2-2.
Well, you got to start 1-0, and then you really want to start 2-0. That's
If you start 2-0,
That's almost
then
as
Sunday in Chapel Hill becomes very interesting.
That's almost as good as when I said I like alternate jerseys when they work. You know, like,
who pitches game 1 for Nebraska?
I think Brockett.
yeah,
Who pitches game 2? Horner?
tie, yeah. And then
You give him an
Timmerman.
extra day off.
Timmerman is sprinkled in there somewhere. I would assume if one of them isn't clicking.
Oh yeah. Oh, yeah.
So
Very interesting. Jackson Brockett versus what's his name? The Oklahoma guy, Tyson
Kyson.
Kyson.
Witherspoon.
Yes, Kyson. What a name, Kyson.
Well,
I
his,
like that.
so he has a twin brother who has made 14 starts as Malachi.
What year would Bobby Witt Jr. be in right now?
one
Would
is-
he already be out?
he'd
He
be
would
out,
definitely
isn't
be
he? Isn't he 23?
But he was going to go to Oklahoma.
Oh,
Class of 19. So his first year
He'd
would
be
have been
done.
20, 21.
Well, you had the COVID year.
He had the COVID year.
So you get an
COVID.
extra year,
Do you
21,
Texas
22,
with
23. Last year would have
It could
been.
be a
Well,
Yeah.
what if you redshirted with the COVID year? If you redshirt with the COVID year, you get
He
6
could have
years.
appealed to get his year back.
Can you imagine if he would have gone to college?
Oh yeah,
Weird.
would have been a problem.
Think about though. So
I would be dead inside.
so there are
He'd be a Toronto
like
Blue
one of
Jay,
the-
and
one of
nobody
the
would
great-
give a damn
One of
about
the
him.
great Creighton stories is Cliff Floyd. Jim Henry recruited Cliff Floyd out of Chicago, and he was going to come here. I mean, can you imagine Cliff Floyd playing on that field on the parking lot?
So wait,
What he would have done, and then
Cliff Floyd hitting high choppers
And
to
then-
left.
then
At the
um,
kitty.
Van Horn basically had a, as he puts it, a 70% commitment from Albert Pujols.
Yeah.
jeez,
Well, he
two.
did play junior college baseball in the area. You
He's
know?
Kansas City connection. He recruited him.
Uh-huh.
Oh my god!
Oh,
Imagine
yeah.
Albert Pujols hitting dongs at Buck Belcher and Haymarket Park.
Hilarious.
Can you imagine if just Albert Pujols is a Nebraska legend? That'd be so random. That'd be so
He was here
random.
for a year and he hit 490.
Can you
Albert-
imagine?
Albert
Can you imagine
Pujols-
Albert like coming back to Lincoln, being honored at Memorial Stadium? Like, wow, I love this place so much, and I can't believe I'm back.
Where I-
And go Big Red.
Where I went and played college baseball for 10 seconds, they had there's a cornfield beyond the outfield wall, and we'd all go run out there because it's junior college and you just go run. They just tell you to go run. They don't tell you where. They just say go run. And so we go out there, and we were running through there one day, and this is probably about, I don't know, 550 to 600 feet away from home plate. They're like, everybody stop. You see this stake right here? Albert Pujols hit one right here one time. And I'm like, this is a lie, but I like that story. So I'm going to tell it for the rest of my life.
The greatest
this.
the greatest athletic performance I've ever seen was in 2011. It was the year before Pujols went to the Angels, whatever year that was, 2009, 2010, might have been 11. He was doing BP at Wrigley, and I was there an hour and a half before the game, and I watched him hit BP, and no joke, he put 7 balls onto Waveland Avenue,
Machine.
like one after another, just out of the park, It was absolutely insane.
The machine.
Yeah, no, Spencer Torkelson taking BP at Haymarket Park.
With the wind blowing out
Yeah.
700 miles an hour. Yeah. I think he hit one up to the interstate.
See,
So wait.
Caglione taking BP. You guys know how when it warms up, the wind blows out to right field.
So
We had the idea of, I don't know where we said this, but you know how there's that cornfield beyond the fence
Yeah.
in right? Why don't we go out there with kayaks like it's
like it's
like
like
San
it's the Cove?
Francisco? We go
Yeah.
out there with kayaks and we just wait for Cags bombs to come out there. He's hitting one out there.
So what year would Bobby Wood Jr. have been drafted? 2023 if he went to Oklahoma?
Well, yeah, he would. Yeah, so 2020, 2021, 2022. So 2022 draft.
Okay. I just want to see where he would have been picked.
The Royals would have probably still taken Frank Mazzucato or whatever they did.
So he
Where's
could
Frank Mazzucato? I don't know.
Bobby
I
Wood
think he might be
Jr.
hurt again.
Bobby Wood Jr. would have been one of an Oriole, Diamondback, Ranger, or Pirate.
Who'd the Royals pick in that first round?
The Royals picked Gavin Cross.
Gavin Cross.
Where's he
also,
at?
also injured all the time.
The Cubs took Cade Horton.
That worked
Cade
out well.
Horton, that's an Oklahoma guy.
That
Actually started to draft okay,
I know.
except
mean,
for the guy from East Chicago, Indiana.
Hmm.
All right, I will see you tonight.
Yes, baseball.
Oh yeah.
Ping or in this case.
He's impressive.
It's gonna sound loud. It's gonna say he's impressive.
That's the way you
Hey.
said that.
Because look at like the Storm
You-
Chasers are
you-
having a little bit of a rough year.
You,
Like no one's going to care about the other 8 guys.
you said that.
great.
You said that like you were sitting down at the Moneyball table.
Dude, we
with
will have
Billy
watched
Beane.
him last year take BP downtown
Yeah,
with a aluminum bat. It's a sight to behold.
Billy's got a clean swing. I mean, the
That
ball
ball
just
he
pops
hit,
off his
that
bat.
ball that he hit in Stillwater that he obliterated 119 off
I
the
know.
bat.
Yeah,
I
who
know.
got 10 feet off the ground.
Well, wasn't he and Wyatt Langford both taking BP together 2 years ago?
Yeah.
That was crazy.
Yeah, Wyatt Langford hit one up onto the concourse and
Yeah.
left. Yeah, that was good.
That was another BP session I'll never forget.
Freak.
The Wyatt Langford one.
Freak. All right, see you guys later.
boss.
You're out
Have
tomorrow?
have a good week. Yeah, I think I'm not here tomorrow.
All right. Safe travels.
Thanks.
Have fun.
Beers on head.
To the house.
See you
That's a great name of a podcast, too.
Beers, I'm sure it is. I'm sure it already is. That's the Crossover powered by Everlevel Concrete. Repair in Omaha at everylevelconcrete.com. It is Tuesday. We'll start things off next. All right, welcome in, everybody. Happy Tuesday. Hope you enjoyed your long weekend. It's the Connor Happer Show on 1620 The Zone and on 1620thezone.com. Connor Happer, Peter Krenzer with you today.
Howdy.
Peterman is here. I will not see Josh for another. I mean, I didn't see him through the middle of last week on, and I won't see him all of this week. Maybe we will meet again in person on Monday, June 2nd, as yes, baseball fever has taken over. And yes, it is Cags week, as Kenneth writes in on the YouTube right now. Jack Caglione making his Werner Park debut tonight. And guess what? We have many tickets to give away throughout the show. So be on the lookout for that. We want you to be at the ballpark. And if there's any added value to these tickets, you can come out to the ballpark and see me look like an idiot in front of everybody with a microphone. So that's always the added bonus.
Oh, yeah.
That you get specifically tonight. Today on the show, Allan Bell will join us as he regularly does here on Tuesdays at 11:30. We'll talk about the baseball setup with him as we get set for the road to Omaha. Mike Schaefer is going to join the show today at 1 o'clock. I texted him this morning and I said, Schaefer, we haven't talked in a couple weeks. You were taking this. He took the staycation last week. We were off yesterday. And so I texted Schaefer. I said, Schaefer, I missed you. Would you like to come on the radio? And he said, yes. And so Schaefer will join the show today at 1 o'clock. That is the lineup powered by the referees at John Higgins Weather Guard. We'd love to hear from you all today on the show, 402-951-1620 on the Prairie Flower Casino Zone hotline. You can call or text that number. Tweet at Happer Show at Connor Happer on the JTech Construction Zone Twitter feed. Email Connor or Josh O. You can still email Josh at 1620thezone.com on the Equitable Bank Zone inbox. And we say good morning to the YouTube streamers out there. What's up, everybody? What's up, brother? Kenneth says, I'm going to see Jeffrey Allan Caglione hit baseballs far on Thursday evening. Many people making the pilgrimage out to Werner Park this week to see Mr. Cags. And we're not going to be here to stop you.
Because come in droves.
Here's the other thing that has happened. On top of, yes, Cags coming through and hitting 5 home runs in his first week in AAA in Salt Lake City, it also comes with the concern that he might not be here very long. The Royals are trying a lot of different things in the outfield, most recently Johnny Rave. And he laid down a nice bunt yesterday, which he was almost safe on, but ended up being called out upon further review. They're trying a lot of different outfielders. Spoiler alert, none will probably be able to hit the ball and bring this type of power to your lineup that Cags can. So it's just depending on when they feel the timing is right. But the more he hits dongs, the more the timing is going to feel right. So the clock on him being in Omaha is probably ticking quicker than you thought.
And it did the timing did work out pretty well because we'll have two. If you're worried about the clock ticking, 2 straight weeks of home games.
Yeah,
the double homestand is here.
Squeeze them all. Yeah. They get one of these a year, and just get out to the ballpark and see them. Get out to the ballpark and see them while you can. Hookie Skirt writes in on YouTube, man, that hat is ugly. Happer. Someone get him a Big Ten title hat. Hey, look, man, this hat is not ugly, by the way. It's a good hat.
Very good hat.
Thank you. And they just when they toss me hats, I wear them. When they toss me t-shirts, I wear them. You know, so you just happen to come back from Cincinnati, the Cincinnati area, with a couple more articles of clothing than you did before. And guess what? I'm gonna wear it because that's what we do with new clothes, right? We wear it, and I'm very proud of the fact that the Jays won the Big East championship, and I'm wearing it on this hat. And guess what? I'll continue to wear this hat throughout the week.
As you should.
To represent the Big East Conference champions and the only team from the Big East to make the NCAA tournament.
Big East title gear and the Chick-fil-A at Prasco Park shirt is a tremendous haul to bring back from the weekend.
The Chick-fil-A night at Prasco Park. I don't know what I'm doing. I really should have worn that shirt today because it's really an absurd shirt. Jeff writes in, it's a pretty bad hat, man. I disagree. I think it's a pretty good hat. Dan says Jack Caglione, the pitcher. At one point he was, but not anymore. And I am very, very happy about that. All right. Today on the show, we have plenty to discuss from baseball over the weekend. We have 2 conference champions here, and we have 2 3 seeds in the NCAA tournament. Nebraska baseball has given an inch and takes a mile. Creighton baseball heads to the NCAA tournament. It is peaking at the right time. What we learned from the NCAA tournament selection process, and we touched a little bit on it in the crossover, but how difficult it is all of a sudden become for these mid-major teams to have the appropriate schedule and RPI and all those things to be able to make it. I mean, you look at these super conferences now, and their schedules are never going to be easier than the teams that play in the Big East. The bottom half of the conference is just really, really rough this year. There's only and the problem is, we'll talk about this later once again, but now I've got myself started. There's only 3 teams in the Big East who care about baseball. There's only 3 teams in the Big East who care about baseball. And, the three final teams in the tournament and the top 3 teams in the regular season were those 3 teams. And St. John's was okay. Top 100 RPI team. But outside of that, it's tough. And so your schedule takes a hit based on, playing some. I mean, Georgetown was in the low, they were in the 270s this year, which they weren't. They made the Big East Conference tournament last year. So it's just really difficult. We'll talk about that a little bit later on in the show. Greg Sankey is talking, ladies and gentlemen. Close personal friend of mine, Greg Sankey. He says the people who run college football are not dead set on a format for the playoff. And he was also angry yesterday when he spoke. He didn't want to be lectured on things. We'll talk about what that all means today on the show. Athlon's anonymous coaches survey came out over the weekend. This is a sure sign, a sure bullet point of the offseason. And it happened, and it was, I think it underwhelmed, but we'll still go through the quotes because it's a sure sign of the offseason. And yes, we have plenty of tickets to CAGS night, CAGS week, CAGS night, which we'll be giving away today on the show. So stay tuned for your opportunities to get your hands on some of those this evening at Werner Park, which is where Peter and I will be.
Oh,
Peter,
yes.
do you know your role this evening? What are you doing tonight?
I don't know exactly what
You're the jack of all trades up there in the press box. You do just about everything.
We'll see. I think I'll be inside tonight, but it's honestly about half the time I'm just waiting until I get there to find out what's
Sometimes,
going on.
you're out of spot, then it's like, well, Peter knows how to do this and he's good at it, so we'll just put him there. Maybe Peter's ripping off the tune sometimes. Who knows?
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what CAGS week requires.
All
Maybe
right.
we'll have extra things going on.
Thanks for being with us today. We'll come back and we'll set things up. Maybe we'll talk about some fouling up 3 too. Peter's wearing an Oklahoma City Thunder hat. Maybe he could comment on this. Back after this on 1620 The Zone. All right, welcome back. Another sure sign of the summer. Now, anyway, there is a cover for the stupid college football video game, which we will not spend nearly as much time on this summer as we did last summer.
Yeah, I feel like
Yeah.
when it's the second go around, it's like, okay,
What's going to happen? What's it going to look like? Is it going to be good? Who's going to be rated what? Whatever. Maybe we'll still spend a day in July on ratings or something like that, or there'll be something on the game that wasn't there before. Maybe it makes it to this radio show. But usually the only time we talk about like Madden on a show like this is when we know what's on the cover. And we say, oh, this guy's on the cover. Is there a curse or something like that? So the new college football game, EA Sports College Football, now 26. Last year they did they did, I think, 3 players. They did, like, Travis Hunter was on there. And the Michigan running back Donovan Edwards was on there. I think there was maybe one more guy who was on the cover. This year they did a giant picture with many people in them. Writing Ryan Williams front and center, Jeremiah Smith front and center, Nick Singleton, Penn State's running back, front and center. You got some James Franklin, you got some Reggie Bush, you got some Kirby Smart, you got some Jeremiah Love, you got some Tim Tebow, you got some Marcus Freeman. You know, the who's who of college football. Third row, Ryan Day, Lane Kiffin, what's his name? Crazy guy from Arizona State, Dillingham, their new coach. Sam Levitt, nice, good job by him. And then you make your way back even further, guys like Garrett Nussmeier and the Oregon Duck and Dan Lanning and let's see, you got Cade Klubnik, you got the Georgia Bulldog, and then you go back even further. And you're just, at this point, you're just looking for the Nebraska representation. What is the Nebraska representation? Who gets to be on here? Is it Dylan Raiola? Is it Matt Rule? What is it? What's it going to be? Does it come in a human form or is it Herbie Husker? It comes in a human form, but sort of different from everybody else. Nebraska is represented by an older gentleman with an NU hat on, a sweater over the top of a collar, and he is holding up an old school Nebraska license plate that says "Beat CU," which is hilarious and a great tribute to Nebraska.
Some representation.
There you
the
go.
Cover.
You get the Nebraska representation on here. It just happens to be an old man with an old license plate that has been expired for many, many years now. Although I think those are kind of making it. Are they like bringing those back in like retro form? Those license plates. It has the almost kind of script looking Nebraska with the sandhills in the background.
There is a lot of options now. I think.
Is there?
I think so.
Wow.
I think that every year they're like, here, you can pick this now.
I went with the regular boring one for my last license
I've never
plate.
gotten creative.
Yeah, maybe.
I've never had a custom plate, never had anything fancy.
Yeah, there you go. There's a good poll question. Have you ever had a custom, what do they call that? Not a custom license plate, but a vanity. Have you ever had a vanity license plate? Put that one up there, Peter Man, at Happer Show. So there you go. Nebraska being proudly represented on the EA Sports video game cover by an old gentleman wearing a red shirt and holding up a license plate that says "Beat CU." Now, CU is for Colorado. This is about football. It's not about Creighton in this case. Honk, honk. Honk, honk. Let's see. Jeff writes in on the text line, that old guy's hat is worse than yours, Hap. I think I have a pretty good hat, first of all. Thank you, Jeff. But second of all, I like his hat. I kind of like his hat. The NU, the kind of non-interlocking old school NU. They put it on a helmet a couple of years ago. I kind of like it. Jeffrey wonders on YouTube, can we crop John Bishop's face on the old man? Now that is a great idea. We should absolutely try and do that. So whoever wants to take advantage of that, whether you're out there on Twitter or on YouTube or whatever, send it my way. Somebody please crop John Bishop's face on the old man where his license plate says beat CU. Sure. You know what? Actually, if Brandon Mike is willing to hold on with us through the break here, we'll take him right away on the other side. We do have a phone call that we're waiting on, so we'll get to that. But we should take a break here real quick and come back with that at the top of the 11 o'clock hour. You're listening to a Tuesday installment of the Connor Happer Show on 1620 The Zone. All right, welcome back. We're going to talk plenty today. Sorry, this microphone only half works. We're going to talk plenty today about the college football playoff and, of course, baseball and everything in between, set up for the regional round and all those things. But let's start off our Tuesday back in the swing of things in a work week with a phone call from our dear friend, Random Mike. Mike, thanks for holding. What's going on?
No problem. I got a random trivia question for you guys.
All right, let's hear
Please
it.
don't cheat. Please don't cheat.
No cheating.
I'll ask you first, and then if you can't get it, see if Peter can. We've heard a lot about Mr. May, which is a real compliment for a college baseball player, correct?
Yes, Gabe Swanson.
Gabe Swanson, and it's really special. Well, Mr. May has been used in the past in a prominent way as just the opposite, as quite an insult. Who was that referring to, and who was the person that did it? That's the
man, question. I don't know. Like
an insulting.
So you mean like this person was only good in May?
He was called Mr. May, and it was an insult. Who was that person that was called that, and who was the well-known person that called him that?
Oh, I have no idea. I don't think that I've heard this before.
I don't think so. Is it? It's not Nebraska baseball. Also, is it?
No. It was pro. It was pro baseball. Very, very famous situation. Okay, that's what I was curious, because again, it's an age thing. Your guys at a certain age, and obviously a lot of us aren't. It was probably the most famous owner in the world of sports at the time, George Steinbrenner, and it was one of the great all-time multi-sport athletes, Dave Winfield.
Why did they call him Mr. May?
Because he had a horrible World Series.
Well, yeah,
and the rest of it, he was a fantastic player, but not good. And it got real personal with those guys, and I think at some point it got semi-criminal with Steinbrenner hiring a private investigator to find some bad stuff, something like that.
Wow!
But again, it happened. It happened quite a while ago. So I was curious whether you guys would know that. But yeah, that was if you Google Mr. May, there'll be a reference to that. And boy, with Swanson though, and that's the thing with this team and with Creighton too. It's just really special. And who knows what can happen? I don't rule anything out. Do you?
I don't. No. It's stacked against them, just as it was going into the Big Ten tournament, where they knew that they were gonna have to beat two top of the line pitchers. The Big Ten pitcher of the year and
exactly,
and probably the next best guy, like in consecutive games. But they did, and they got the right breaks at the right time. Like, no, I can't count them out. Absolutely not.
And I think similarly with Creighton, because anybody watching Creighton, Nebraska knows that there's not much difference at all between those two teams.
No, I think things will have to break right for both sides, but I don't know. You get into this thing and you might get some pitching performances or some hitting performances for some guys that you just wouldn't expect to, and that's ultimately what can propel you into a next game or a next round. It's really, really difficult because you borderline on getting to the point where, it's a double elimination, right? It's not a single elimination. That's what made what Nebraska did in the first couple games so difficult, because it was really single elimination for them all the way through. But there is some wiggle room for the better teams to have a game where they screw one up and then can come back and make up for it with a couple more wins. But I don't know. It's a fascinating format, and it makes for some interesting baseball all weekend. There will be host teams who don't make it into the next weekend.
Yeah, and why not us? And Connor, it took a miracle. Were you watching that when he dropped the?
I was watching it live. I said, "Oh my God!" Out loud on my couch downstairs. Oh my God!
And and what are the odds of that happening? And they talk about among the team. They talk about the Greg Sharp effect. You having an angel there in heaven, and so that kind of thing to happen. And I think a similar thing happened to Husker volleyball years ago against Penn State in a regional finals, where it was an easy shot and they were going to lose in the fourth set or whatever, and then they were out for the year. And then Penn State, they tripped over each other and just missed a sure thing, kind of like this. And I think Nebraska won the national championship.
Weird,
of course,
weird stuff
different.
happens. You need to take, like, the thing that Nebraska did was take advantage of it, right? Like, they were given an inch
That's
and they
exactly
took a
right.
mile.
And you keep hearing that Childress is an elite pitching coach, and we haven't really seen that much of it lately. But maybe we're seeing it now. The way Horn pitched, and the guy they brought in, Dice. I mean, I was thinking keep Horn in there because he was actually hitting his highest radar reading in that last inning. But Childress is considered a great coach, and we need that kind of thing. And I'm hoping Bolin, whatever his name is healthy, because him and Silva, that's pretty elite back there. I mean, they are sensational defensive players, don't you think? I mean, they're really good at certain things.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like this lineup where you're scared of any one guy. It's relatively consistent all the way down. So I don't know. I mean, like I said, Mike, things are going to have to really go right for them in order to get out of this thing. But you can't put it past them because they've already done the unthinkable one time.
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you. I took the softball defeat pretty hard, almost like I did the old football defeats where there was so much at stake and they were so good in the Jordy Ball story. But hell, full credit to that other pitcher because those two guys are sensational.
Yeah, unbelievable. Thanks, Mike.
You got it, bud.
All right, that's Random Mike starting us off, talking about luck. Sometimes it is about luck. Sometimes it's about the guy who drops a relatively easy fly ball in right field. Sometimes it's about the guy, if we're talking about Creighton and luck too, in the Xavier series, Connor Mish boots one behind the bag, and then you heard this, right? Or you heard John Bishop go like this, right? Sometimes that stuff happens. Sometimes for Creighton on Wednesday at the Big East tournament, you walk 13. You walked 13. Hadn't walked 13 in a game since 1996 and won a postseason game at a tiny baby ballpark.
30
it's
years.
Nearly impossible to fathom. It's nearly impossible to make any sense of. But sometimes them's the breaks, as they say, and you get what you get. And then it's about how much you take advantage of it. And for Nebraska, they got an inch and they took a mile. What a change a couple days can make for that team. We are a blink of an eye away from talking about a completely different thing with them. And maybe we still should. Maybe we could evaluate what the last 3-4 days have done. Hard for me to even fathom what day it is right now. Tuesday, they're telling me. Nebraska won the Big Ten championship game on Sunday. Okay. So it's been a long week, and all of the Michigan State thing happened on Wednesday. But should we still be talking about that thing? Should we still be talking about what happens if if the Michigan State right fielder catches that ball, or is it completely different? Or, it's amazing the way we talk about things so differently now. And only just one thing kind of started getting the ball rolling for Nebraska. That's somewhat baseball, and that's definitely postseason baseball. I will say this. The Nebraska team under Bolt is gaining a bit of a reputation now of turning it on in the postseason. That's one thing that I think we could just, if we're looking for trends, they've won two straight tournaments, Big Ten tournaments in Omaha now. Obviously, there's advantages of them of that entire thing, having your fans engaged and all that stuff. But you have to do the work yourself and maybe get a break or two. But and you think about when they went to a regional in 2021 and pushed Arkansas all the way to Game 7 and beat them once, right? Like they're gaining this reputation of turning it on in the postseason. And so that changes the entire look and the entire conversation. But does it change the shortcomings that Nebraska had this year? No, but it puts them in different context. It puts it in a different light. I heard a lot of people talking about the fact that they, miss Mason McConaughey and all that stuff. And I just felt like that was kind of sour grapes. Like Nebraska needed to figure out something that worked for them considering you missed Mason McConaughey after the first weekend of the season, basically. And they weren't really able to find that. And I do feel like in a way the Big Ten tournament for Nebraska played to, I talk with coaches about this all the time. Just this idea of you're always kind of piecing it together. Creighton had it last year, and I had a lot of conversation with Ed Service about it. Like you're just when you don't have an ace. Creighton lost their ace, Dominic Cancelleri, last year, and you don't have a guy that you can regularly turn to on Friday to match up against the other team's best guy. It just feels like you're always piecing it together. But when you are that team, the deeper you go into a tournament, the more advantageous it could be for you, because then the other teams, after 2 and 3 and 4 games, start piecing it together, and then you're already there. You are already there. So in order to make it through a tournament like this, you have to A, find a way to do that, press the right buttons, and B, get hard to predict performances from players that you're not expecting to get those type of performances from. And Nebraska got it. I think Creighton got a little bit of it. They started Shea Went in the championship game in the Big East tournament, and he gave him 10 outs. And that was, I think, far beyond kind of what they kind of expected to. With that being said, Creighton was in a really good position, being the team that was 2-0 in that tournament. RDJ fan writes in, it's a good point. I mean, CU didn't have Eli Nissen, who was their Friday night guy, but they never complained. It's all water under the bridge at this point, right? You're in the NCAA tournament. And yeah, I think Creighton has probably gotten healthier as the season has gone along, obviously with Cancelleri being, a big piece of that. And then of course they went out and acquired some help in the offseason as well. And there's probably not very many people that are more important to what Creighton has done this year than their closer, who they leaned on very heavily in Mason, Ohio this week. But sorry, we're bouncing around a little bit. But I mean, Nebraska baseball ending up we'll talk about Creighton themselves as well. Ending up in a regional, getting back to there. All of a sudden, they've gone to the postseason 2 years in a row now. And you're like, wow, life is kind of good all of a sudden. Where if that guy in right field on Wednesday night catches that fly ball, that right fielder, if he catches it, I mean, we're probably not talking about Nebraska at all. And more of the conversation is about Creighton and what they've done this year and heading to Arkansas and all those things. But, you don't get to see that. It changes the whole look of everything. Ty Horn having that performance changes the look of not only this tournament for Nebraska, but it also changes what the future might look like and the dependability of some of those guys in those spots. And then, of course, the conversation surrounding the coach and what is the conversation like today, considering maybe what it would have been had they lost that first game in the tournament. It's very different. It's just different, and that's okay. Baseball postseasons are weird, and they are not representative a lot of times of baseball. You can win, you can win if you're a major league team. There's a scenario where you can win 100 games during the regular season and be out in the flash of an eye because you got swept by a hot team coming out of the on the division series. Like that is a thing that happens. And the entire narrative of the offseason is dictated not by the 100 games, but by the 3, right? Because you're going back to, you're like, okay, we can win 100 games, but now we have to take the next step. Well, it ain't easy to win 100 games. Conversely, you could be a team that wins 82 games, win whatever crap division is out there, not the AL Central, by the way, and make the playoffs and then get hot and, line up your pitching and beat somebody who has 20 more wins than you in the postseason and take that all the way to the World Series. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, wow, this team's a contender. They went all the way to the division series last year and they only won that amount of games. It changes things in a flash. And Jeff writes in, he says, losing your ace is kind of a big deal. It is. But once again, Nebraska had plenty of time to kind of figure that out. And it felt like Will Walsh was going to be that guy for a while, and it just kind of faded out at the end of the year. They struggled on Friday nights, right? And every team has to adjust and be the type of team that their personnel says they are as well. And I don't think we really ever figured that. I mean, once again, we were talking about identity with Nebraska baseball. What are they? What are they trying to be? Like, is it going to be a team that has a low team ERA and tries to play for a run or two and runs the bases really sharply and plays like okay? Or are they going to be a team that hits it out of the yard like kind of they have been over the last couple of years and we'll piece it together from a pitching perspective? Is it somewhere in between? The conversation about Nebraska leading into this coming weekend or into this past weekend was, I don't really know who they are and I don't really know what they're trying to do. And that's not a great thing to have said about your program. But now that they won the Big Ten tournament, the conversation goes away. I don't care who they are. I don't care who they are. I don't care what they're trying to do. They won the stupid thing, and they get to go to the NCAA tournament. And, the whole conversation goes away. Should it be that way? Probably not. Probably not. Because if you're Nebraska baseball, you still have to go back and figure out what your process is and improve on it and do better. And if you need to make coaching staff changes, make coaching staff changes and find out who you are from a personnel standpoint, where you're going to recruit, the type of players that are going to be in your program. Like, you should still be doing all of that. But the pressure is a little bit different because you don't necessarily, the pressure is a little bit different because you're coming off of a year in which you went to the NCAA tournament. It just changes the whole deal for you. Parker. So people are telling me the Michigan State guy dropped the ball. Parker Pico was his name. We got to remember that guy. What do we owe Parker Pico? We gotta send him something.
Some Omaha Steaks.
I can't believe he dropped it. I've watched it 400 times, Peter. I can't believe he dropped that ball.
Yeah,
I've never seen anything like that.
It was bizarre.
And so that's where you do think it's something. I mean, obviously there's an obvious answer for what it could be for Nebraska baseball. Their angel in Greg Sharp. That's the only thing that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Some sort of divine intervention. Why did he miss that baseball? I don't know. I have no idea. It doesn't make it much of sense. But once
right
again,
to him.
Give credit to Nebraska for after getting that little inch, they took it and they went a mile with it. They doubled down on it the very next day. Well, I guess it ended up being 2 days later with the rain, right? Beating another really, really good pitcher. Took down Penn State, got some weird, bounces in that one, and then really played probably one of their better games of the season against UCLA.
Yeah.
Which, once again,
and a bounce back.
If we're talking about Oregon and UCLA, Gary brought it up in the crossover. You get the added advantage of those guys are playing early in the morning. UCLA wasn't early in the morning; it was 2:00 in the afternoon. But specifically Oregon, we're talking about early body clocks. You've been on the road for the entire week. Nebraska's kind of at home, but they're kind of on the road at the same time. Yeah, doesn't matter. You get breaks or you don't. I have a question, though, for Nebraska fans before we take a break and get to Allan Bell on this one. Nebraska fans, would you rather go to the tournament or would you rather just barely miss the tournament and avoid the embarrassment? I'd repeat the question, and maybe it sounds familiar to you. Would you rather go to the NCAA tournament, option one, or B, barely miss the tournament, maybe go to some other nonsensical tournament, and win that and continue on your pace for the remainder of that season. Maybe you get a crown afterwards or something like that. It's funny how that conversation applies to real life scenarios a lot, because I was saying, no, of course you wouldn't go to the crown. You would go to the NCAA tournament because it's better and it's more fun. And I don't care if you get beat by 40. You get to go to the NCAA tournament. It changes all the things that I just talked about. Now, fortunately, there is no crown for college baseball. Thank God. I would not want it to be here in Omaha. Let's say that. Maybe you could put it anywhere else.
Vegas.
Vegas would love to have it. Exactly. Put it at a ballpark in Vegas where it's 700 degrees or something like that. There's no crown for college baseball. And now, Husker fans, will you finally just say it? Just admit it to me. I know you want to. Admit it. Yeah. Going to the NCAA tournament is better. I know you didn't love this team. I know you didn't love the Nebraska basketball team all the way up until the very end. Up until the very end of the season, you didn't love them. We're not playing revision. I know the history on this. During the season, you're like, oh my God, they can't stop losing. I want this season to end dramatically. Really, really, really bad. Can we end this season? I really hope they don't go to the NCAA tournament, because if they do, it'd be bad. People were saying that to me. I'm like, no, man, you want to try and go to the NCAA tournament. They go to the crown, they win the crown. They're like, wow, I love this team. You did so great. I'm so happy for what you did. Now this team actually gets to go to the NCAA tournament. You didn't love them 2 weeks ago. And maybe that's revisionist history, because they've been winning some series now on the weekends. And they actually pull the thing off, get the auto bid, get to go to the NCAA tournament, and do not have to go whatever to the college baseball version of the crown, even though there is none. And yes,
the college baseball diamond.
And yes, they might go to Chapel Bill and get their faces beat in. It might happen. But I'm willing to roll the dice, as you always should be. Thank you very much. All right, let's. I got some texts here.
Yeah, caller Andrew. This might not be a can of worms you want to get into.
Oh, good.
Until later when we talk more Creighton. But he asked which program direction is better, Nebraska or Creighton.
Oh, interesting. Okay, we could talk about that a little bit later. Aaron says, "Don't loop us in with all of the idiots. The loudest suck, but the crown run was fun. Both of those could be true. I know. I'm just giving you crap. I'm just giving the people crap because I hear things that people say, and I know this isn't everybody's opinion, but it's definitely some people's opinion. That's for sure. All right, that is a heck of a deal for Nebraska baseball. Who gets to go off to Chapel Bill. Maybe him and his lovely new girlfriend will be there at the baseball games this weekend. Who knows? Who knows? You never know who might show up at any of these things. Before we do take a break, we have to give away our first 4-pack of tickets for tonight's Omaha Storm Chasers game. It is Jack Caglione's Omaha debut. Well, I guess it's Werner Park debut, I should say. Tonight is the night, 6:35. They're playing St. Paul, and we have 4 tickets for you right now. And all you have to do is be caller number 3 at 402-951-1620. 402-951-1620. We got a 4-pack of tickets to you to the game tonight. And of course, we remind you that our ticket giveaway is brought to you by Valor Sports Cards, rather. And we are teaming up with them and the Storm Chasers in 1620 The Zone to get you out to the ballpark tonight to see Cags. Call right now. Caller number 3, 951-1620. We are back after this. That's right. We're joined now on the Prairie Flower Casino Zone hotline by our good friend Allan Bell, driving the line. AB, it's Christmas for you and lovers of college baseball. What's going on?
What's up, brother? It is the most wonderful time of the year. All right, I'm excited.
It's a beautiful thing. I'm great. Just back from the Cincinnati area, and then on the road to Fayetteville tomorrow. So I'm excited.
Nice. Did you are you a Skyline Chili guy?
People, I'm breaking this news for the first time because all last week, people told me to go to Skyline Chili or don't go to Skyline Chili. There was like really, definitive opinions on Skyline Chili, and I was like, don't worry, I'll go. I like to try stuff, and I never made it. I never went to it at all. I did get Grater's ice cream, which I hear is a thing up there, and that was really good. But I didn't get the Skyline Chili, and there was just no time.
Yeah, you know what? Time is justified, right? Like now, you went to Grater's, which is very important because it's solid. Grater's is great, man.
It was really good. I got a cookies and cream milkshake.
Oh, nice. There you go. Look, have you had a coney? Right, like Skyline's a coney.
Right.
Take some spaghetti, some cheese, some meat. There you go. Good to go.
I mean, people are either like, this is actually really good, or this is horrendous, and it's a horrendous idea, and it should be wiped off the face of the earth. They were selling. So not only did they have a Skyline Chili storefront in the Cincinnati airport, but they also, in the little convenience shops, they also sell the chili and the hot sauce and all of it like in there. And I debated at the last minute buying myself a can of Skyline Chili to put on the plane with me, and I thought that would have been a really weird move, so I didn't do it.
Yeah, you know what? Probably a good call. Canned chili, airplane. Probably, yeah. I think, you know what? You did a service to the rest of the passengers in the cabin.
Mm-hmm.
All right, yeah, good call.
What are you the most fired up about with this bracket that we got yesterday with our regionals?
Man, it is good. Look, I'll say this, a couple things. I feel bad for the West Coast because they always just get like all the local teams just jammed in together, right?
Yep.
Like, you don't want to play like in-state teams. Creighton and Kansas.
You're interested.
Oh my God. Oh, I'm very interested. I mean, these are two good baseball teams. They can score runs, but they can pitch too. Dude, I'm excited about that one, man. Like, I'm fired up for that. You go across the board and you look, a lot of favorites. What do we do with the Southern Miss regional, right? Like, I don't know how much I believe in them, but Miami and Alabama are insane people, right? Like, you can't ever bet on them. Yeah. I mean, what are your thoughts here? Creighton and Kansas, everybody fired up for that? That's going to be a hell of a game and a hell of a region.
Yeah, Kansas hits bombs, and Creighton doesn't until this weekend when they play at a tiny baby ballpark. But they're kind of known for their pitching and defense and station to station a little bit more. It's kind of difficult to imagine anybody other than Arkansas not getting out of there, but they have really choked in the postseason a few times. So keep that in mind. I'm wondering what you think about Tennessee and their position that they're in right now. Who, I mean, even though they're a top 16 team and a regional host, I'd call what they've done this year probably underachieve a little bit. I guess what do you think about them and their chances to make all of their problems go away in the next weekend or two?
Yeah, look, what the way that you just described it is perfect, right? Because I mean, Tennessee hasn't hit for a month. At minimum, right? Vanderbilt's just been having their way with Tennessee and other teams too, right? The one thing that'll help Tennessee is that it is being played in Knoxville, Lindsey Nelson Stadium. And for anyone who hasn't been there or seen it, there are high school fields that are larger than this. Like, this whole region or regional is going to have runs all over the board. It's on top of a mountain, right? Like, I mean, you've got all the keys to be hitting home runs. That being said, dude, Cincinnati is plus 750 to win this regional. Like, Tennessee, they can't hit. And I don't care who you are, where you're playing. If you can't hit, man, like, you can find yourself in trouble. And this team's, like, they've had a bad Like, you look at teams in any sport, you look at them, you're like, oh, this team's just kind of mentally checked out.
Yeah.
Like, they've been that way for a while, man. So, you bring up a great point. Like, games, play them overs, because run rules are done now, too. Remember that. We don't have any more run rules in college baseball. But Cincinnati, if you're looking at a team that could surprise some folks, plus 750 to win that regional is not a bad bet.
Yeah, I just Tennessee. I mean, we know they run really hot, and it feels like they're in a bit of a burnout position at the moment. There's a bunch of, because once it got later in the top 16, these last 3 or 4 regional hosts, and this is the case every year. The ones and the twos in those regions are like really close to each other, and so it'll be interesting to see what sort of makes the difference. And I think specifically this year, there's some front end twos that are thinking, oh yeah, we got a chance to get out of this. And then every year, Allan, there's a 3 or a 4 that makes the College World Series, that makes it to Omaha. I wonder if you have anybody on your mind or you're thinking about this early in the game.
Absolutely. I'll answer both questions. All right. So the number 2 seed, Duke, all right, in the Georgia-Athens regional. Georgia hasn't played great the last month either, all right? And Duke has turned it up. Now, you can't trust Duke at all. Trust me, I bet them for 3 years now, and they'll just break your heart. But Duke is absolutely hitting the ball. And that field, at Georgia is absolutely a hitter's park. So watch out for Duke. And they would get the winner. If, say, Duke wins the Athens Regional, they would get the winner of the Ole Miss, the Oxford Regional.
Yeah.
And look, Ole Miss, Western Kentucky could win that
now,
one.
I was going to ask you specifically about that one, because that one looks like it's really anyone's game.
Absolutely. Western Kentucky's a top 5 team in terms of pitching, and they can hit too, man. Like, they're not a bad team. They're a 3 seed. They're plus 400. So there you go. Another one, if you're looking at a 3 seed, is UC Irvine, right? Like, I don't know if they're the 2 or the 3, but they're 3 in terms of their betting odds in the LA Regional. UCLA, if their bats aren't magical of what we've seen basically the last 3, 4, 5 weeks, UC Irvine has the pitching to go and smoke. They could go in and not lose a game.
Yeah, they've been consistently good all year. They've been. I mean, they were in the host conversation all the way really until the end there. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they popped out of that one. There's a couple West Coast teams that are interesting, and then you of course have the hosts with UCLA and Oregon and
watch out for Nebraska.
All right, okay. Are you officially saying watch out for Nebraska?
Oh yeah. I love the way that it's so funny. We talk all the time of like the similarities between Tennessee and Nebraska and fan bases and sports and all of it. And this Nebraska team feels like the Tennessee team that I've seen the last 3 years, basically previous to this year, where they go out, dude, and they just don't care. They just go out and have fun. They get along, like they can pitch, they can hit. They're amping right at the right time. And don't get me wrong, North Carolina, who's hosting that regional, is a phenomenal baseball team. But the pressure is on them, and I've seen them choke many a time before. I think Nebraska is much better than Oklahoma. I don't trust them at all, and I've seen them all year long. Don't have a lot of faith in Holy Cross. If Nebraska comes out and plays, dude, they can win this regional, man. They absolutely can. That Nebraska-Oklahoma game is going to be a ton of fun. Nebraska might put up a ton of runs on Oklahoma because they'll give them up left and right.
Yeah, we'll see. It'll be fascinating between those two. I don't know if I have as much confidence as you do, but at the same time, they did just rip through the Big Ten tournament and undefeated. So, and they had to beat Oregon and UCLA to do it. But yeah, I mean, who knows this time of year? Because somebody's going to come out of this weekend that we didn't expect, and probably more than one.
Oh, yeah, and real quick, I'll tell you, a team to watch that I don't think they're going to win the regional, but if you're not familiar with them, they're fun. East Tennessee State is in the Vanderbilt Regional in Nashville. East Tennessee State is right by Knoxville. It's 2 hours away, so they're not traveling far. and they are a top 3 team in the country at hitting home runs. Like, they're good enough to cause chaos in that regional because they'll literally hit 9 home runs in a game. And dude, that one, watch out for them of just playing totals because they can mash on anyone. They've hit more home runs than Tennessee this year. They hit that many bombs, dude. Like, they're crazy with hitting home runs.
Yeah, all of a sudden that changes the look if you're without, the number 1 national seed after the first weekend. Is there anybody in that top 8, the top 8 national seeds, that you are thinking these guys are going to have their hands full? I mean, you've mentioned a couple of them already. So East Tennessee State alongside of Vanderbilt. You mentioned, North Carolina's region is difficult with Nebraska and Oklahoma in there. Is there anybody that comes to your mind outside of those two who it's like, whoa, watch out, there could be a big hole after the first weekend here?
Yeah, Auburn. Auburn is a really good baseball team at times, but they can also go silent and just, 0 runs, 1 run. Like, they could have a bad weekend and be gone out of this thing quick. I'm not saying that it happens, but just be careful because that region could get very weird, and NC State is just good enough to do it. So watch out for that one.
NC State, Stetson, pretty good there too.
Yep.
So yeah, that's a tricky one for sure. Okay, off of college baseball, and of course we'll have plenty on it next week through the regional round and the Supers, and then Omaha with AB. What else are we watching? I mean, we're still on baseball. We're still on NBA playoffs. A lot going on right now. What are we looking at the moment?
Yeah. All right. So Major League Baseball, Shohei Ohtani has hit a home run in the first at bat in 2 straight games. Don't take him for a home run. Take him for a walk today. They're going to walk him at some point.
Nice.
And then Ronald Acuna is back. He's absolutely back, and he's in Philly tonight. All right, take him. He's going to be swinging. Him and Bryce Harper will be swinging for the fences tonight. So anyway you want to play Ronald Acuna, absolutely.
That was great. His first swing back, and he just, pounds one into left center field. That was a great moment for baseball and definitely for the Braves.
Oh, yeah, man.
Awesome.
Especially then he hit a home run the next game. Like, dude, this guy's swinging like crazy. He might strike out a couple times too, but he's going for the fence every single swing. That's fun.
All right, AB, enjoy all the ball this week. We appreciate your insight as always, and we'll talk to you soon.
Super Regionals next week. Let's go, boys. Have a good one.
That's right. That's Allan Bell, Driving the Line. You can check out his stuff there. They'll have a podcast out every day. They already have AB's already got a full regional breakdown posted up on YouTube right now. If you're into the college baseball betting world, is really kind of taken off over the last couple of years. It's something that Allan and I have talked about quite a bit. So if you're into that, it's up for you. Driving the Line. AB is your guy. Let's take a quick time out here. We'll talk about Creighton and the tournament in general, CAGs and football, of course, still, as we go on throughout the show today. Mike Schaefer is going to join at 1. But coming up next, Peterman's Odd News on 1620 The Zone. It's no Oddson, but it is Peterman. By the way, a Josh update. I have I don't know what the hell Josh. I mean, I know what Josh is doing today. He's off because it's the random day after the school year ends that the teachers have to go, and his wife is a teacher, so has to watch his kid today. That's why he's not here. But I don't know what Josh does while he's not at work. But I now have a better idea. So I've received a text 3 minutes ago from Josh. It appears to be a screenshot of an Instagram, or some sort of Instagram reel. I don't know where he's getting this, but he sent me a text that said, "Not a kettle chip, but," and then it's a picture of a Ruffles bag that says spicy dill pickle flavored. So he's interested in the spicy dill. Now, I've talked before on this show about the spicy dill pickle kettle chips that I think it's Miss Vicky's they have.
Yeah, Miss Vicky's. I've had those.
So they're running out at Costco. They're gone. They're almost gone at Costco.
Cleaned them out.
So I think Josh is just trying to help us out here with this, but it also does feed into the Josh will try anything, anytime, anywhere bit. And it also feeds into, I didn't know that he was following Ruffles as a brand on Instagram. So I'm very interested in that idea as well. But thank you, Josh. Still producing the show, even from his even on his day off.
From his humble abode.
Which is great. All right, Peter, man, what do we got today?
Well, I'll try to pick up the odd news as best I can. We're going to cheat a little bit because I'm going to go 2 for 1 on this first one because it's both Indy 500 related.
Oh, so I got told to follow a specific Twitter account about the Indy 500 over the weekend. Apparently, it's just an account where they tweet out videos of all the shenanigans that are happening on the infield and people just like being vastly overserved and things of that nature. I did not follow that account, but I did see some videos that popped up. Is this about that?
Any entertainment on there?
Oh yeah. There's plenty going on in the old infield.
I didn't discover that, but this is why I didn't go all in on this one thing because people have seen this. It's surfaced pretty well. The Wiener race, the Wienermobiles.
Ah, yes, of course.
I had no clue that this was a thing or that this was happening. And it was the first annual Wiener race at the Indy 500.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if a lot of people knew that this was happening. And I'd just like to imagine everyone in the crowd was so confused and had no idea that this was happening.
100%.
If anyone was curious, like what went into this, it's a gathering of the Oscar Mayer Wienermobiles, which I've found this interesting is based regionally. Like there's regional Wienermobiles and they have not all been in one location in a decade.
Yeah, there's like so they came through a couple summers ago and I went on one of the Wieners. I visited one of the Wieners visited me and jumped up there. Yeah, they told me the whole story. There's 7 of them or so. And they just basically they give them to like college interns and they just drive them around and spread the good word of Oscar Mayer Wieners and talking puns all summer long. It's totally unique and different.
Look at
Michael
this.
Severe has ended up. Michael would like to talk about Oscar Mayer Wieners. Is this right?
I've driven the Oscar Mayer Wienermobile.
Oh, this is fantastic.
Yes, I've driven the Wienermobile before.
Of course you
as part of a story at 3 different TVs over the course of my career. It's just a normal story you do. You do a Wienermobile story.
Look at that. What are you doing here?
So we are, I don't know if you know this or not, Peter. Good to see you, by the way.
Good to see you.
We are brothers in a certain kinds of sandwich. We both really like lobster rolls. But see, every time there's a lobster roll thing going on, I send it over to Connor, and Connor says, I work during lunch.
I said, nah!
I work during lunch.
Stop sending me this,
Stop
Michael.
sending me this stuff. And so since he had a birthday,
oh no,
I thought he could have a lobster roll for lunch, despite the fact
Michael,
that he
look at
that
that
he works during that time.
Who did you get this from?
Normally I would go over to Shucks, but my driving around running errands thing was not by Shucks. And so actually that's from Sandpoint. You never been to Sandpoint? It's over in Miracle Hills.
That smells fantastic.
There's no way that Michael Severe just brought me a lobster
that's
roll.
a lobster roll. It's not from Shucks. Is where I would normally go.
Really
great
good.
people over there. Greg's awesome. But it just wasn't along with it. So I ordered from Sandpoint. Boom, boom, picked it up. It was great.
Michael,
So
this is unbelievable.
So yeah, so you can never say before again that you couldn't get one during lunch because obviously
all this was just a play to have you bring me one.
Yes, all these years.
It worked.
Just working the ploy. It's very good. Yes.
We played the long game and it finally came out. It came to fruition.
The long game always works. I mean, look at Nebraska baseball. They played the long game. Like, we're going to make everybody hate us. They're going to think we suck. We're going to go in and be plus 700. And look what we'll do. We'll win this damn thing.
Michael, this is incredible. Thank you so much.
You are welcome.
Do you have any other takes you have before we let you go?
Wienermobile.
People are wondering, by the way, if you just live here or you just walk around the studio.
No, I don't. I actually don't live very far.
Okay. Yeah.
I live 0.8 miles from here.
Okay.
I think it's 0.8.
All right. So
something
that's
like
why
that.
you're
So
always
it's pretty
here.
close.
Yeah.
But I work out 114th and Center, and I drive around a lot. I do a lot of stuff for the foundation. So I had to go. I'm putting together a package. We're visiting the governor tomorrow because we're asking for more money. So I had to go. I'm doing stuff with that today.
I saw the governor. I was on a plane with the governor this weekend.
Really?
Yeah, he sat in the front row with his security.
So was he in the first class, or
I mean, there was
just a front row?
There was no first class.
Okay.
On the airline that
what kind of airline were you on?
It was just a regular Southwest.
Was it Southwest?
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
very soon,
Yeah.
starting next month, I believe they will have.
They
first
will
class.
have a first class.
Yes,
yeah.
that would be new. So I love the idea that you could go and just eat food for free at this tournament.
It's amazing.
That's pretty cool. I've never seen that before.
It's frankly unbelievable.
It is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now look, I'm still eating.
And now you're still eating. You're going. I'm very interested. I didn't know if you were a Connecticut guy or a Maine guy. So I just went with Maine. I didn't know.
So
you like it hot or cold?
Cold or hot?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, cold. I think is the way to go.
Okay. So I wasn't sure how you liked it. I wasn't sure. So.
Is that correct though? Like
I like them both.
Preference?
I've had them both.
I do too.
Like when I was in New York, when I got from Luke's, I got 3 different ones, and I got 2 that were hot and 1 that was cold, and they were equally incredible.
The one I had in Boston was cold.
Was it cold? Yeah,
it was delicious.
Yeah, it makes plenty of sense to be cold. So, yeah.
So this one's cold that you have right now.
Yes,
it's a Maine one. Yeah, the Connecticut apparently is the one that's hot.
Okay.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Either way, it's fantastic.
So thank you very much,
Michael Severe.
What a drop!
Let me stop by. So yeah, enjoy your sandwich.
Good to see you.
I will see you for Severe Reaction.
Oh yeah,
multiple times.
Oh,
my producer it's either him or Joey.
Yeah,
who fakes his voice doing traffic, which I think is very funny. Anyway, see you guys.
Michael Severe, everybody. What a dynamite drop in.
That was fun.
Mustache Adam says Michael equals certified mensch. That's exactly right. Wow, I'm gonna be eating. Now we need to get over with this segment because I need to just absolutely rip this lobster roll. Look,
it smells fantastic.
All right, we're moving on from the wieners. What's next?
Yeah, so the Wienermobile. Andy asked how many are in the fleet. I think it's like 6. It's the one from the Southwest one, the Slaw Dog. So shout out to the Slaw Dog.
Oh, how about that?
But then in the broadcast for the Indy 500, did you see the Michael Strahan AI video package?
What? No.
They ran this incredibly awkward 2-minute video segment where it openly admitted that AI did this. Like they were not hiding it. That it was just an AI recreation of Michael Strahan's life if he did IndyCar instead of NFL.
Oh, is this like what they did with Jimmy Johnson? Remember when they did this with Jimmy Johnson?
Weird.
When they were like having Jimmy Johnson's, was it his retirement or the fact that he made the Hall of Fame or something like that? They like recreated his whole life in AI, and then it on the Fox pregame show. It was so odd. Why are people doing this? I don't understand.
It's bizarre.
Yeah.
And it was not received well. People thought it was incredible.
I have not seen this at all.
It's on the YouTube.
Okay.
I'll send you the YouTube link. It's still up there.
I got to check this out.
Very strange. But
any other stories or is that it?
We'll just hit these last 2 quick.
Okay.
A guy, I saw this online, so I thought it was interesting. A guy basically lives in Oregon, quit his job, didn't want to work at a tire company anymore, and then documented his journey to sail from Oregon to Hawaii with his cat Phoenix, and garnered a lot of steam, online attention, to the point where he was getting escorts from the Coast Guard. It became a whole thing.
Wow.
People were cheering him on. I'm sure he made a good chunk of change off this whole thing. But yeah, just decided he wanted to sail to Hawaii, and he reached his destination and was...
He got there.
Yeah, he was given a very warm greeting. The governor of Hawaii threw him a big celebration. Yeah, he's not doing too bad after quitting his job. So shout out to Oliver Widger. That's who
nice job, Oliver.
And then this was a mention on Twitter Cody, who sent this in? Cody Kinzer sent this in,
Okay.
and I had to include it because it's insane.
Wait. We have a rule. If somebody died, then it's not funny. Okay? So this headline makes me think somebody died.
Somebody did die.
But I mean, I understand why the headline is in here. It's very Florida. There's a Florida thing involved. It's like kind of funny type of headline, but someone died.
Yeah.
And so we can't make fun of it.
No.
So we can't make fun of it. And so we could just, that's fine. We could just end the segment right
And you
there.
know what? That way we still hit the 3 things.
And now I can eat my lobster roll.
And now you can have your lobster roll.
Michael Sevier, what a fantastic gentleman. An absolute guy. Thank you, Peter, man. We will come back and get into more things in the noon hour. Creighton, we have MLB reaction, overreaction still as well. Come along with us on this CAGS Tuesday on 1620 The Zone. That's right. I have successfully devoured an entire lobster roll and some
Munched.
French fries in the 4+ minutes that we were on commercial break. It was very good. Thank you again to Michael Severe. Chance writes in on YouTube, don't forget to tip Connor. DoorDashers don't make that much on those deliveries. I really should have. I should have pulled out my wallet and said, all right, here, how much did this run you? What's 20% of it? Maybe 25%. Michael didn't hand me one of those the credit card readers that has the tip options on there. He should carry that around with him when he just randomly starts popping in and making deliveries all over town. He should really consider doing that. So thanks to Michael, and what a lovely gift. And he caught me on the right day because this is my only day here this week. This is it.
The perfect storm.
Yep. Before we head to
you got your little treat.
Before we head to Fayetteville tomorrow, don't forget, continue to listen throughout the show today. We will have tickets to tonight's Omaha Storm Chasers game brought to you by Valor Sports Cards. We want to send you to the very first CAGS game, not necessarily in Omaha, but at Werner Park. Anyway, CAGS is doing a media availability in about an hour where the local media will have a chance to ask CAGS some questions. Do you like Omaha? Do you remember when you were in the last 2 College World Series? Do you all of those things will be asked here within the next hour. College football here at the top of the hour before we get to Creighton in just a second. People forget. Nebraska, the home to 2 NCAA tournament baseball teams this year. Both teams winning their respective conference tournaments, the Big East and the Big Ten. But then there's always college football trying to take the headlines away from everything. SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey has opened up the league's annual meetings by saying he is open-minded about the future format of the college football playoff. Once again, we're not talking about this year. They've already made a change for this year. They're doing the straight seeding thing for this year. We're talking about what the format is going to look like following the 2026 season. Sankey said, quote, "We're not committed to any particular format, but stress that the so-called 4-4-2-2-1-3 model, which distributes 1 automatic bid to the non-power leagues and 3 available at-larges, 1 potentially for Notre Dame if it falls within the seating threshold, has not been decided on in his room." We'll see how that conversation manifests itself this week, and we'll look at it a little bit more deeply at different ideas. So one of the ideas that has come out of this is the idea that maybe, and I've seen this, I love this. I think this would be the format that I would throw my support behind if we're expanding the playoff. Just do this has led to all of this politicking and all this stupid conversation about who deserves what. The Big Ten and the SEC are trying to throw their weight around. And then, of course, everybody who's not a conference commissioner in the Big Ten or the SEC is going around there saying, well, this is not equitable. And then if you do it over a certain period of time, it makes sense as to how much the Big 12 and the ACC and other leagues around the country are represented in the college football playoff, because what you normally see is, yes, it's heavier involvement from the Big Ten and the Southeastern Conference. But the Big Ten and the SEC tried to take its weight a little bit too far. And they were trying to say, well, we want to make sure of that every year. And there's still a chance that we can get some at-larges. And the Big 12 and the ACC said, no, this is not, we're not going to say this out loud. So why don't we just do this? I think everybody should support this. No. Just do 5 automatic qualifiers. Give me the 5 conference champions, right? It's really the 4 conference champions plus the highest rated conference champion group of 5. So champion of the Big Ten championship game, SEC championship game, Big 12 and ACC championship game, and then whoever the highest, if it's Boise or if it's Army or whoever it is, highest ranked non-power conference champion. And then with the spots after that, just have a giant college basketball or college baseball-like debate over the remaining 11 spots if we're doing a 16-team playoff. Then you have your 16. And then you just seed based on the similar criteria that's used in the baseball and the basketball selection process. It's basically how the NCAA tournament is comprised both in baseball and basketball. You have your automatic qualifiers, and then you seed them after you have everybody, after you've decided who's going to get into the field. So it doesn't mean that just because you won the Big Ten, you're going to be the number 1 seed or the number 2 seed or the number 3 seed. You could be the number 12 seed if you are Nebraska and you get to the Big Ten championship game by, some act of God, right? Or if you're Iowa and you get to the Big Ten championship game by some act of God, and then you win that championship game, you make the playoff with 9 or 10 wins or something like that, and you just happen to be number 11 in the country. Okay, then you get to still be the 11th seed. Or whatever the seeding is based off of that. I don't know why we can't do that. Now we've gotten really convoluted about, who gets what, and there's financial distribution that is involved in this as well, and everybody's mad at each other again. Like, pretty hilarious that college football has found a way to screw this playoff thing up so royally and so massively within a period of just a couple of years here.
Quite remarkable.
So the SEC and the Big Ten, they are pursuing everything. We have given them an inch and they have taken a mile, much like Nebraska baseball has. They said, I want a 16-team format, and I want automatic qualifiers, and I want double buys. I want double buys in this conversation as well. Everybody is trying to stack the deck in their favor. And Greg Sankey comes out yesterday, and he's like, hey, look, don't talk to me about the sanctity of the game, okay? Don't talk to me about the spirit of college football. And I'm like, well, Greg, come on. You know that while you might think you're doing something good for the game or something, I don't know what you think you're doing. I don't know what sort of moral high ground Greg Sankey thinks he has in this situation. But I tell you what, like, it's one of those things where the SEC and the Big Ten have absolutely tried to just steamroll everybody else, all the other conferences in college football. And it's shockingly not really sitting well with anybody else. So what do we do with that information? I don't know. And honestly, as far as the college football playoff story is concerned at this point, we've been talking about this for a long time. And we knew it was going to change. You were at 4, and then they decided we should go to 12, and we came up with the format that we used last year. And then over 10 seconds, the format changed again. They said, actually, we don't like this format. We want to change the format. And then everybody realized, even at the time, that they were going to have to change the format again going into the 2026 season because the new contract was coming up, and it represents an opportunity to do something fresh and different and new. But the way we change it, I hate for it to all come back to this. We change it every 10 seconds, and everybody has differing opinions based on the underlying circumstances that their conferences or their teams are surrounded by at any given moment. And it shouldn't be that shocking that nobody could come to a conclusion on exactly what we want it to look like going forward. It's stupid. And frankly, I'm over the story at this point. Like, yeah. I'm throwing my hands up. I'm just sitting here like, whatever. The college football fan, like you and I, have been taken for a ride on this, and we are left with no choice but to just stick our hands up and say, whatever, man. You guys are going to do whatever you want anyway. So how about you figure it out? You don't have to politic me. I'm not voting on this, right? Just get everybody to agree on it and frickin' pick a side. Pick whatever you're going to do with the playoff. I know it might be destroyed, but guess what? As we've done throughout the history of college football, and especially a lot throughout the last 25 years, we've adapted and we've adjusted. And we have not seen a change like we have over the last 5 or so years, really post-COVID, to where all these things have just moved around so rapidly and so differently. And we have NIL, and we have transfer portal, and we have now we have 100 different college football playoffs and formats and stuff like that. Like I'm just over the story at this point. I don't really want to think about it that much anymore.
It's upsetting.
It is upsetting.
It just takes the fun out of everything. The novelty of the playoff wore off so fast, and now it's just being beaten into the ground.
How long before this affects Saturdays? Because this is the thing that we always I would preach. Like I subscribe to this, and I hear it across college football talkers. They get their tight shirts on and they show their biceps and they say, "Hey, does this really affect Saturdays in the fall?" My answer is no. Like that still generally feels the same, even though everybody's in a wacko conference at this point. Like that generally still feels the same. But we're getting awfully close to it really affecting Saturdays. We're talking about non-conference games getting wiped off the radar, or are they? Scheduling coalitions and stuff like that between the SEC and the Big Ten. Like it doesn't affect the actual game that we played. We just get the games, but the games are made as a result of what the schedule and what the playoff format gives you and what it allows. So how close are we to this affecting Saturdays? It's getting really close. Like this is an off-season conversation. It's something that we probably won't talk about when we get to the fall, other than here's the format and you guys just have to deal with it. And none of this is done at the, for the fans or anything like that. And then the decision makers have a really difficult time, especially the top two in Tony Petitti and Greg Sankey. They have a really tough time not going to war for themselves, and they're going to continue to do that. Greg Sankey said as much yesterday. So what does this all end up being? I have no idea. And frankly, I think I'm going to stop caring. I think I'm just going to stop caring at this point. It doesn't do me any good to get mad about it anymore. And so Go ahead. Change it.
Do
whatever you want. Put the AQs. It doesn't make me a college football playoff that makes absolutely no sense whatsoever, because that's what they're going to do. Like, think about it. In a world where the Big Ten and the SEC get their way, we're talking about 4 automatic qualifiers just for finishing in the top 4 of both the Big Ten and the SEC. You get into the playoff. And the other conferences that aren't the Big Ten and the SEC, they only get 2. Like, that's stupid. That's nonsensical, and that's not in the spirit of really anything at all. But now we're into the politicking stage, and this is going to get a lot more stupid before it gets any better, in my opinion. They're going to do something really goofy.
Yeah, it's going to get worse.
They're going to do something really goofy. And so there you go. Douglas writes in, bad takes, Doug. SEC, I want a hamburger. No, a cheeseburger. I want a hot dog. I want a milkshake. Yes, they're changing their minds constantly, and everything is stupid. Brett McMurphy tweeted it. I saw this tweet as in regards to this situation. SEC's Greg Sankey said in current college football playoff format, quote, "It's clear that not losing is more important than playing quality opponents." And once again, is this good for anyone? No, because we're all trying to react to whatever the college football playoff situation is. And then based on that, we're trying to make a schedule, but we don't know what this thing's going to look like. And everybody's trying to game it out and figure it out in their own different way. And so whatever. once again, at this, I don't really forgive me for not really having a take on this because I don't. I just, it's gotten too convoluted and too confusing for me to really even care about as a watcher of college football. As a fan of college football, you are likely a fan of your home institution. In this case, you're likely, if you're listening to the show and you care about football, college football, you likely are a fan of Nebraska. And so what you're thinking about is the best way for Nebraska to get into the college football playoff. Because these are we don't have many parameters outside of that. Those are the parameters that we have. And so when everybody sits there and they say, well, if they told us that all we have to do is finish top 4 in the Big Ten and not schedule anybody and it literally doesn't matter outside of that, then let's make it easy on ourselves or let's make it difficult on ourselves. Those are the conversations that people are having. And it's not necessarily like everybody continues to be about, serving their own interests, and they should. And Sankey sat there yesterday and was like, well, I don't need you guys to lecture me on the sanctity of the game and stuff like that. So this is all dumb. And I'm frankly over the conversation as a college football fan. Just tell me where we're going to go. Tell me what we're going to do. Tell me what I got to do to qualify, and I'll try and get there. Give me the bar. And I will try to reach that bar in whichever way I possibly can. Meanwhile, one more story in college football before we get to baseball overreaction here. The anonymous coaches have spoken. Athlon's yearly anonymous coach quotes. I got to be honest with you before I read them. I'm going to tell you straight up, they're disappointing. They're not as spicy as they usually are. It's very sad. Here are some of them from Athlon. Expectations are building here, but I think this group can meet them. What does that mean? This is about Nebraska. I have no idea. Putting Dana Holgorsen in as OC is a great move for Matt Rule, and he'll create a lot of advantages for Dylan Raiola in that offense. Agreed, but not necessarily spicy. The DC change won't really affect what they do schematically. They're still going to run a 3-3-5 base. That doesn't even sound like a real quote, to be honest with you. That just sounds like something that a random a person who watches college football and watches Nebraska said. Sometimes I doubt to whether this is a different thing. Sometimes I doubt where these are actually coming from. Anyway, they need a big play receiver to step up. Otherwise, I think they're more talented on paper than the Nebraska roster has been in years. The expectation is that they break out and finally compete among the top level in that league. That might not happen, but I think it's realistic to expect a better bowl destination and more wins and Dylan to get more national spotlight. And then finally, Matt knows how to do this, and they're heading in the right direction. So once again, I can't think of one quote that I just read to you that didn't sound like it just came from a random college football fan.
Yeah.
So I once again, I don't know where do we want to hear any quotes on anybody else? Do we care about Iowa? I'll answer that question for you. Yes, of course we care about Iowa. The way I saw Nebraska baseball fans just really giving it to Iowa this weekend for not making the NCAA tournament. That tells me that we care about Iowa. Here's the quotes on Iowa. You could look at them two different ways. The first is, this is the kind of roster where Ferentz surprises opponents and they come out more cohesive and physical than you expect because that's Iowa football, especially on defense. We've seen rosters like this where you look up and Iowa's winning 10 games, and that didn't seem possible. The second is that they're really struggling on offense to the point where Tim Lester and the staff have everything riding on an FCS transfer quarterback and Mark Gronowski, who didn't play in the spring at all. We've seen this work before at a lot of different schools, but it also could fall apart. Very insightful by that coach. Not. They have questions all over the offense too, especially at receiver. Shocking to hear. Once again, we're talking about Iowa. If Gronowski is good, though, they'll be fine.
Really?
I don't know what this is.
Really?
I mean, it's pretty shocking to hear that if your new quarterback is going to be good, that they'll be pretty good. Bamon writes in, maybe they asked AI to write the preview. It's very interesting. Once again, I don't know where they're getting these from. They say that this is other Big Ten coaches talking anonymously about their opponents. I think other Big Ten coaches, either they must be faking this situation, or B, they just read all of the stories. They just read what everybody else is saying about these teams invariably throughout the offseason. Because none of this is really insightful.
I've kind of thought that with
whatsoever.
Just in general, when I see those, we talked to, like in professional sports, we talked to an anonymous GM and they had this to say about the draft class. And then it's like a disparaging comment. I'm like, why would any high-ranking
why would
executive disparage even anonymously?
Okay.
Like, they wouldn't really do that.
But the whole point of having it, Peter, the whole point of having it anonymous is so that you can say something. These are just
nothing burgers.
Why would you not being on the record, to say, to granted anonymity, to say the DC change won't really affect what they do schematically. They're still going to run a 3-3-5 base. Why would that need to be off the record? Why would that need to be anonymous? Like if the Illinois defensive line coach came out and said that yesterday, we would have no takes about it at all. It's something that you could absolutely say on the record. So I don't get it, but nice job.
No,
it's a click from me every offseason. Nice job by Athlon. All right, we're back after this where we have MLB reaction, overreaction. But before we do that, it's time for another opportunity for CAGs, folks. Give us a call right now, 402-951-1620 on the Prairie Flower Casino Zone hotline. And be caller number, what do you think, Peter? I want you to make it easy on yourself.
Should we go caller 2?
2. Second person to light up our phone line right now at 951-1620 is getting 4 tickets to tonight's Omaha Storm Chasers game against St. Paul. First pitch is 6:35, and it is Jack Caglione's first home game as a member of the Omaha Storm Chasers. Once again, 951-1620. Back after this on 1620 The Zone. All right, we just had our most recent winner of CAGS tickets. I mean, they're really Omaha Storm Chasers tickets, but we're calling them CAGS tickets today. That's, of course, brought to you by Valor Sports Cards, teaming up with the Storm Chasers in 1620 The Zone to make sure you all can go see CAG's home debut tonight at Werner.
Yeah,
Park.
baby.
Peter will be there. He'll be doing something.
We'll all be there.
Connor will be there. I'll be playing stupid games on the field. Last time I did, so I've only worked at Werner Park once this season, and I screwed up the Dizzy Bat race. I didn't know, so I made them go down, like they spun and then they went down and they ran down and back. And then I didn't know that the partner is also supposed to spin around and then go down and back. I just did the one, and I was like, yeah, that actually makes sense considering there was 4 people in this game and not just 2. But yeah, so that
they cheered him on. They were
that was my snafu in the one game. So we're gonna try and be perfect tonight. Can you be perfect?
To be fair, I frequently get confused about the rules of the games.
Sometimes they're made up.
Despite watching,
it's like, whose line is it anyway?
Despite watching them multiple times a week for months, I consistently forget how they work.
Sometimes the person who is in charge with the microphone is just randomly guessing throughout the competition. All right, MLB reaction overreaction is what we've tasked our writers with today. They've come up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 takes for us. And Peter, are you on the I should have asked you this before we came back from break. Are you on my my sheet here today? I don't think you are.
Let me see. I think I have it.
If you do, then I'll have you read these takes that the writers have given us on MLB reaction overreaction. If we don't get it, then I can just read them and then answer the questions as well.
Oh, for God's sakes. Google.
Okay.
It's asking me a million questions.
There's
All right, let's see if I'm in.
Too many authentications in security.
It said I requested access, so I don't know if that actually sent a thing. But
oh, okay. All right. Well, maybe I can accept that access for you. Either way, we'll just do it this way for now. So, take number 1 from the writers. Demotions for struggling young players work. All right. So I think the Royals are hoping a demotion for a struggling young player works. This is the most recent example of this that we have is Matt Shaw, who was up at the start of the season, was not hitting, and he was demoted back down to AAA. Through April 14th, he was slashing 172, 294, 241 with 18 strikeouts. That was through 18 games of his MLB career. And they said, we got to send you back. And Shaw had been a guy who would basically almost skip AAA. He only played in 35 games in AAA. So they moved him up to the major leagues pretty quick, and he started this season with the Cubs on opening day, and it was really difficult. It was a really difficult go for him. Then he played almost a month in Iowa, where he slashed 286, 409, 560. Power started to come along. 5 doubles, a triple, 6 homers, 5 steals. He was good. Now he's come back to the major leagues, and he has been pretty dang good, at least to start anyway. It's a small sample size. I think he's only played a little more than a handful of games since coming back to the major leagues. But either way, it feels like that confidence is back for him. So the question is, definitively, does this work? And you can, of course, never say that definitively anything works. But we have now seen over and over and over again, young players get sent back to the minors, demoted, right? It's tough to take a demotion. You think you're at the top of you think you're on the top of the world. You're probably a high draft pick. The team has accelerated your trip to the major leagues, and then you stink, and you got to go back down to the minor leagues. And you'll listen to a lot of players talk about that, and they'll say, it's then really where I learned my lesson. In fact, there's a huge story on The Athletic today about a former first-round pick of the Padres who, really thought he was on top of the world, stunk, and really never figured it out. So you can't say that it definitively works. But Shaw said this: I think the stint back in AAA gave me a little perspective about the big leagues, gave me a breath of fresh air and kind of to take a step back. It also gave me some time to work on things, all of which I needed. Hopefully I could take what I've learned in the minor leagues to continue to grow into a better hitter, which is absolutely should be the mindset on all these things. Obviously, the Royals are hoping that MJ Melendez can do very similar things at this level. Not a guarantee that it could work, but I do think if you need a set, because you can't, with the major leagues, everything is important, and you can't have a guy who's hitting. You can't wait while a guy figures it out, especially if you're trying to compete for a pennant, which the Cubs are doing right now. So doesn't always work, but that seems to be a growing path for young and budding stars. Question number 2, take number 2. Justin Verlander should just give up his wildly improbable chase for 300 wins. I've thought this for a long time. So Justin Verlander, a couple different times now, Peter, has extended his career. He said, "I'm going to keep pitching. I'm going to keep going until they tell me to stop." And the Giants picked him up this offseason. He's 42 years old, Verlander is. But he is currently, and he has been on the record before of saying he really wants to push for 300 wins. He has now ended up on the injured list. He's on the IL. And he is winless this year. And he's sitting on 262 wins, which means he's 38 wins away from getting to 300 wins, which people have tabbed Justin Verlander as really the last guy ever to have a chance at 300 wins. And he's trying to make good on that. But the truth of the matter is, he is never going to get there. 262 wins at age 42, 38 wins shy of 300. You're going to have, there's not a 20-win season left for Justin Verlander. Hell, there might not be very many 20-win seasons left for anyone.
No.
Period. And it's impossible to think that you could go at that pace. Verlander, could he still be an effective arm for somebody who's, trying to win games at the major league, in Major League Baseball? Sure. But if the only reason he's sticking around is because of this chase toward 300, it's ill-advised. He's not getting 300 wins. He needs to give that part of it up.
Maybe if he counts quality starts, could get somewhat close.
Yeah, I don't think that counts either.
The thing with wins is that you're just relying too much on other factors of the game.
Yeah.
Like, you can do your part.
Yeah.
But are you going to get run support?
Just ask Paul Skeens.
Yeah, seriously.
Just ask Paul Skeens. Guy can't win a game. He's been the best, one of the best pitchers of baseball for basically the last 2 years. Take number 3. There will only be one American League team that turns it in and looks ahead to next year at the deadline this year. So I was looking at the standings. We're past an important milestone in the season. Past the quarter mark, and then Memorial Day is usually a time to sort of look back and see what's coming. And then you go to Memorial Day, you go the 4th of July or the All-Star break, and then you go, Labor Day into September. And so this is one of the first checkpoints that we have. You look at the American League right now, and it's in the wild card standing. So you have the top of the divisions are Detroit, the Yankees, and Seattle at the moment. Within 3 games of a wild card spot. So for the next 3 spots, Cleveland, Minnesota, Houston, Kansas City, Tampa, Toronto, Boston, Texas, and the Angels. They're all within 3 games of a playoff spot at this point in the wild card. And then there's the A's, who are 5.5 games back. Baltimore, who is 19-34 and 9 games back, but there's a world where they could, theoretically get healthier and kind of turn it on. And then the White Sox, who are dead, but not as dead as they have been in the past. So give them credit on that. This is one of the things that we talked about going into the year. The American League is just generally wide open. And the Yankees and the Tigers at the top have been the best two teams, really the Tigers. And we'll talk about Tarik Skubal here in just a second. The Yankees, right along with them, have been the best two teams in the American League. Everybody else is still in shouting distance. Now, you'll see separation before we get to the deadline. We're, 2 months away from that still. You'll see separation here, but I don't know how much. Like, I'd be willing to bet that, all these teams with the exception of the Angels and the A's, I could see everybody else really sticking in that race. And so that's everybody in the American League outside of the White Sox, the Orioles, the A's, and the Angels. If you take those four teams out, I think everybody could really dream about still making the playoffs, even when you get to the deadline. That'd be my guess. Everybody in the American League East, Kansas City, Minnesota, Cleveland, and Detroit in the Central, and then everybody in the West besides the Angels and the A's. So Seattle, Texas, and Houston. I think all those teams are going to be able to convince themselves that they're still in it when that time rolls around. Take number 4. Tarik Skubal is the most. Now, this is an interestingly framed question by the writers. Tarik Skubal is the most dominant pitcher we've seen in a long time. Usually it's a take, writers. Come on, help me out here. Either way, he went. So listen to this. This is over the last. You could really include the end of his 2023 as well, where he was, on a Cy Young pace, just not for as long. But let's just start last year. Tarik Skubal of the Detroit Tigers, 18-4 with a 2.39 ERA last year. Led the league in strikeouts, led the league in ERA plus, led the league in ERA, led the league in pitching WAR, led the league in wins. Won the Cy Young, finished 7th in the MVP last year. This year, he's arguably just as good, if not better. This is, of course, coming off of a complete game shutout, a Maddox, which he had over the weekend. He's got just about 69 innings under his belt. He leads the league in strikeouts with 92. He's 5-2 with a 2.49 ERA. Nobody throws complete game shutouts anymore. He's got one under his belt this year. He's well on pace to winning a Cy Young again. And so I just think about pitchers and the way they come and go. Now we'll talk about this a little bit with closers in a second. Think about pitchers and the way they come and go. And it's just like you're not going to see these runs of like 7, 8, 10 straight years of dominance like Clayton Kershaw style anymore. It's going to be little 3-4 year stretches like this, and they're going to run really, really hot. And I think Skubal might win another 20 games this year. He might win 20 games, 15 probably at least, for a team that seems to be pretty good in Detroit, and he'll lead the league in all those things as well. So yeah, he is dominant right now. There's no doubt about it. And then one more.
Let's hear it.
Nobody will reach 500 saves ever again. 500 saves. This is something that Kenley Jansen is chasing at the moment. Kenley Jansen is tops in active saves, 458 in his career. He's 37 years old. All right. And so the list of people that have 500 saves in their career is just 2. Mariano Rivera and Trevor Hoffman, and they each have over 600. Lee Smith had 478, and then there's some more recent guys. Dennis Eckersley only had 390, but that was different. The age of the closer has sort of come and gone.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting how that's worked out as well. I want to read you a piece of a story from The Athletic by Sam Bloom and Chad Jennings from over the weekend. It said one veteran major league executive, granted anonymity for his candor, offered 4 factors causing the generational change at closer. 1, a better understanding of leverage has led teams to use elite relievers in non-save situations. Agreed. 2, as the leverage logic has trickled into player development, elite relievers no longer reach the major leagues expecting or demanding to close. Fascinating. 3, the save statistic is no longer seen as the most important relief pitcher metric. Definitely. And 4, Potentially dominant closers are being stretched out as starters or multi-inning relievers. He said, "That's all I said. The ninth inning and many save situations are still high leverage, and there's still something to getting those last 3 outs, in my opinion. But ideally, you have multiple pitchers who could do it effectively. And the biggest thing is pitching your best pitchers when it matters most." So now, instead of definitely being assigned to getting those last 3 outs of the game, it's not uncommon to see a closer in the 6th to get the highest leverage outs with the bases loaded or something like that, because that's what the game comes down to. So the answer to this question is the definitive no. The age of the closer was really took place throughout the, I guess late 90s and into the 2000s and into the previous decade. But it's over. And so now it's not that dominant relief pitchers are gone, because those are more plentiful than ever in Major League Baseball, but just not one guy to get all your 50, 60 saves in a year. And the shelf life on those guys is a little bit shorter now as well. All the shelf lives are just seemingly on everybody a lot shorter. All right. Thank you, writers, for supplying the great questions yet again for this week. We'll take a break. We'll be back. We'll talk some Creighton baseball on 1620 The Zone. Welcome back. Connor Happer, Peter Krenzer with you. The Blue Jays have debuted a new hashtag and a saying. Everybody needs a hashtag and a saying for when you make the NCAA tournament. How does this sound? Make any sense to you, Peter? The road to Omaha. Hashtag Omaha.
I think it's clever.
One goal, get back home. That's what.
Because no one else can do that.
Nobody else can say that. They play the College World Series literally in their home ballpark. So you're on the road to Omaha. That's what Creighton is doing. Let me just say this. I absolutely love it. I absolutely love it.
Absolutely.
Definitively, I very much enjoy it. On Creighton, they are headed to the NCAA tournament. You know, give them credit for what they did last week in Weirdo Town at Prasco Park. I shouldn't say that because it was a first class deal. They had the best pitching staff in the league all year long by a mile. And I was really curious to see how it'd play out in that park. And with the exception of Wednesday, it really showed. I mean, they just made less mistakes. And when you got to that third game, obviously they had the advantage of Creighton had the advantage of only playing 2 games and having the day off before they played in the championship game against UConn, and UConn had to beat them twice. So they used their Sunday guy, Wilson Moggers, to get out of the Xavier game, which that worked out well. But you kind of had to go into your bag a little bit and roll the dice and hope that it worked. But there were still plenty of options that I think could have worked for Creighton to get through that championship game. And if not, they could have very likely worn down UConn in the second game if you needed to go that direction as well, which nobody really wanted to do at that point. So I thought that showed in the tournament. And like I said, with the exception of walking 13 in the first game on Wednesday against St. John's, it really showed. And so Creighton not only took care of business in the tournament, but it turned out that they had to. They kind of had to. I don't think, and it's a sort of sobering realization after the fact, I think it's pretty appropriate to say that if they don't win the Big East tournament at Prasco Park, that they probably don't end up in the NCAA tournament, even though they were regular season champs, even though the RPI is creeping up toward the mid-40s, even though they had beaten all of the other teams in the conference. Although if you would have lost in the championship game twice to UConn, the UConn wins would have been less impactful because you would have, I suppose if you would have lost twice to them, then the season series would have been even with them. But you had beaten Xavier 3 games out of 4. And that's what really, those are the only teams you could really gain points off of in the Big East in terms of RPI. And they got some big hits at the right moment. I felt like, playing in that ballpark was a challenge because you never really know when something big is going to happen. It could happen in the flash. It could happen in the blink of an eye. And so Creighton's, pitching did a really good job of limiting base runners in those games. And when the other team hit home, when Xavier hit home runs, they were solo shots. When UConn hit home runs, they were solo shots. And that's the way that they found themselves getting out of it. And then they got a big hit to finish things off by Tate Gillen, which gave them a 7-2 lead going into the 9th inning of the championship game. And turns out, the player of the year, the Big East player of the year, and Ryan Daniels comes back and hits a 2-run home run in the 9th inning and makes it 7-4. And you kind of start to panic a little bit. You're like, whoa, thank God we had those extra 2 runs. So they just kind of had more than their opponents did. I mean, there's a lot of different directions to go here with Creighton. I think, frankly, it's pretty incredible that they have landed themselves in the NCAA tournament, and they found a way to really make it all sort of come together. The credit goes all the way around to the players who decided, I think, to stick around and run it back one more time with Ed Service, and then a new coaching staff that they had to put their trust into, that nobody exactly knew what was going to work. And it turns out, in my humble opinion, being close to it this season, they have a really good coaching staff, like a really, really good coaching staff. And they're going to, most of that staff minus Ed Service will continue on next year, and Mark Kingston will run the thing, and they're going to win some games. They have a really, really good pitching coach, and those guys' attention to detail is really solid, and they are going to win some games. And they've been able to do it this year. And coming off of last year, nobody really knew what to expect. It was a really good non-conference. They won 35 games last year, but then they couldn't win on the weekends, and they didn't make the Big East tournament. And on one hand, it doesn't make a lot of sense that they didn't make the Big East tournament. On the other hand, it's amazing what they've been able to do this year with largely a similar group, with a couple really, really key additions that were brought in from the offseason this year. So they get the great pleasure of traveling down the road to Fayetteville, Arkansas. First game against the Kansas Jayhawks. And playing in the Big East tournament should prepare you for playing against Kansas a little bit. Kansas is one of the top home run hitting teams in the country. They have 100 home runs this year. And they have a similar profile to that of a team like Xavier, who needs the extra base hits, and UConn, who needs the extra base hits. They had two guys. UConn has two guys in their lineup with 17 plus home runs this year. Kansas, same type of deal. And playing them in a really good environment on Friday night, and then a hostile environment on Saturday night. It's I can't wait. I can't wait to see it. I can't wait to be there. All the Creighton games are going to be on 1620 The Zone this week as well. Hopefully you enjoyed the championship game on 1620 The Zone on Saturday, and we'll be broadcasting from Fayetteville, Arkansas on 1620 The Zone starting on Friday.
Baseball fever.
Baseball, ladies and gentlemen. Hokey Sker writes in, wait, let me correct, they'll be Omaha by Sunday. Oh, Hokey Sker.
Oh, Hokey Sker.
Must be a big Red fan. Jeff writes in, he says, they're asking for it with that hashtag when they lose this weekend and come home. Hey, everybody comes up with an Omaha-related hashtag, okay? Omahogs, whatever. They do them all around the country. You have a rare and unique opportunity to say that you're going to go Omaha if you win in these 2 weekends. But yes, you also do get to come back to Omaha if you lose. I'd call that an added bonus because I love our city. I live here. Josh Hodson would say exactly the same thing. All right, we'll come back. Mike Schaefer will join us on the other side. We'll talk some baseball with him potentially, and some football here on 1620 The Zone. All right, we're joined now on the hotline on the Prairie Flower. Oh, that's why the phone's ringing again. That makes sense. Here, I'll just patch him through right here. And we're joined now on the Prairie Flower Casino Zone hotline by our good friend Mike Schaefer of Husker 247. Hi, Schaefer.
How we doing?
Good. Why did you hang up?
I didn't intend to hang up. The phone call just ended, and then I called back.
Oh,
I was trying to switch to a Bluetooth device, so I probably did something in that regard. I don't know. More importantly, how was the lobster roll, and why did you receive a lobster roll?
Because seriously, there's no other reason than Michael Severe is a really nice guy.
He really is.
I mean, but I mean, he did say it was for my birthday, which was Sunday, but that seemed like more of an excuse than anything. He's just a really nice guy.
Belated happy birthday. I failed. I didn't text you on your actual birthday. Now I'm wishing you a belated happy birthday here 2 days later. Sorry, I am not a very good friend. I am not as nice as Michael.
No, the thing that you have got me, there's very few people that I could do this with, where we, miss a day for whatever reason. It happens throughout the calendar year, and I'm like, Schaefer, I just want to have you on the show. Like, I just, it's not really to make up, we don't owe it to each other for you to come on the show, but I really just wanted to talk with you, and so we made it work. And this morning I thought of this idea, so thank you for immediately responding and saying yes and joining the show.
Yeah, well, it helps that it's I don't even know what today, May 27th. Is that what today is?
Yes.
It helps that there's really not a lot going on. So I didn't have a great excuse to be like, no, Connor, I can't join your show. I've missed multiple Mondays in a row, so I'm sitting out this Tuesday afternoon. But no, I'm good to go. What do you want to discuss?
Was that me, or was that the this weekend was the group chat, the lawn group chat that we're in? Was that popping off a little? I saw it out of the corner of my eye, and then I clicked it and I got rid of the notification, and I didn't see what was going on in there. Or was that the other person?
I think it was mostly the other person. And then there was some Jets talk in there. So
okay,
you didn't really miss much.
Okay. Sorry. I was doing a baseball game at a very random location.
You did several baseball games at a very random location. And it would have to be one of the strangest, strange is probably unfair. I don't know how else to characterize it. One of the more unique conference tournament setups in the entire college baseball landscape.
Yeah, I think that's a really good way to describe it. Unique it's one of a kind at the Big East baseball tournament. Around here, though, there was another unique tournament with a very unique format. Since we're using the word unique a lot, how did Nebraska baseball take an inch and or get an inch and take a mile after what they went through on Wednesday night, and then finally pushing all the way through the weekend to get back into the NCAA tournament?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it comes down to they just have guys that have stepped up in that park for whatever reason at big times in the last 2 years. I don't know that anyone would believe if you had told them going into the week that they would get an 8-inning, 0 runs allowed pitching performance from Ty Horn. I don't think Ty Horn would believe that Ty Horn was going to be able to deliver that. So they've just gotten these remarkable performances from down the roster guy. I say down the roster. I mean, Ty Horn was one of their weekend arms all year, but he didn't have a particularly great season. His best start prior to the championship game was the start he had against Maryland earlier this year. He went 6 innings, no runs, but 8 innings, no runs against a regional host in a championship game. But that's just the sort of stuff Nebraska's got in the last couple of years out of guys like Jackson Brockett, Gabe Swanson. Josh Taryn was nuclear last year. Devin Nunez was stepping up this weekend. Hogan Halitzo had several great at-bats throughout the tournament. Guys just stepped up in a way that wasn't happening during the regular season. I mean, you and I have talked probably more Nebraska baseball in the last month than anyone really should, but they played the anti-version of what they had been for much of the regular season. They had timely hits. They played good defense.
They allowed other teams to make mistakes. Pitchers stepped in and were very, very good. I mean, Luke Broderick, I thought, should have been the MVP of the whole tournament. I mean, his 6 innings of work, allowing Nebraska to come back and beat Michigan State and then closing the door against Penn State were huge. He worked in and out of trouble. He got timely strikeouts when he needed them, timely outs when he needed them. They just got big performances from a handful of guys that just stepped up when it was their turn to step up. And sometimes that's what postseason baseball is. I mean, you watch it across all sorts of levels. It's not always the biggest players that show up on the biggest stages. Sometimes it's the guys that are a little bit further down the roster that have big moments too. Now it helps when Gabe Swanson is just otherworldly in that building and hits a 2-run homer in the first inning against Oregon to just tell you what type of day it was going to be on Saturday, and then caps it with a 2-run homer against Penn State to remind you, hey, this is what I do here. So, you get those kind of performances too, but I just thought it was a remarkable display of a team that sort of just showed up and outplayed everybody. They looked better than UCLA and Oregon in a 1-game scenario on Saturday and on Sunday. And that's kind of what they're going to go into here in the regional in Chapel Hill. And I don't think that they are going to win it, but I didn't think they'd win the Big Ten tournament either. So at this point, doubting Nebraska seems to be working for them. So we'll see if they're able to continue that.
For a team, Schaefer, in their position, how do you can you live with being the team that they have now gained the reputation of being over the last couple of years, which is the team that turns it on in the postseason? It turns it on when it gets to the Big Ten baseball tournament, and then potentially beyond. Hopefully, is I guess the next step. But like, can you live that way? Because this season, going up until the Big Ten tournament started, was just a kind of a big nothing burger for Nebraska baseball. There wasn't really, there wasn't really much there. Like for Nebraska, they're in the Big Ten as a northern cold weather school. Can you live with being a team who just turns it on in the Big Ten tournament and then tries to play for a regional?
My favorite part about this question is if you were to ask it to Will Bolt, how mad he would probably be
triggered
about being characterized in that way.
Yes.
Like there's nothing that a guy like that, who is just a baseball guy through and through, a grinder who wants every single thing to matter, who wants to just grind out every aspect of everything, he would hate being characterized that way. So no, I don't think Nebraska wants that reputation. I think they like the idea that they can step up in big moments. I think they like the idea that they're very comfortable playing in key situations or with their back against the wall. And we saw all year. I mean, this was a team that no matter what the deficit was, they were still putting up at bats late in games and challenging teams even when trailing late. And they have a number of comebacks or almost comebacks to their credit there too. But I think what Will Bolt would want, I think what the Nebraska program wants, is to find some level of consistency where the version of you that's able to just take it to Oregon and keep UCLA off the board, that you're showing up 2 out of 3 times in Big Ten play more often than not, that you're able to perform like that in the midweek game too, that you're able to show up at the ballpark and you have an idea of what version of your team is going to be there that day. I don't think they want this reputation. At the same time, I don't think they're going to apologize for how they're now playing in the NCAA tournament. So I think that they are still looking to figure out what version of baseball team they're going to be, how they're going to be built, and go from there. And they've got some young guys who've got some great experience here that they get to hopefully build upon in North Carolina and the seasons beyond in Lincoln.
Okay, before we go on to football wise, what sort of chances do you have in them getting out this weekend?
I think they match up pretty well with Oklahoma. That didn't strike me as a particularly scary 2 seed to draw in a regional. I don't think North Carolina is a particularly scary. I think part of it is with this team, we've seen them beat Vanderbilt, Oregon State, now Oregon and UCLA. So in a 1-game context, I think Nebraska has the ability to play with anybody in the country. I wonder how their pitching is going to hold up, and yet they did pretty well in this format with the Big Ten this last run. And so you're going to turn around, you're going to have all of your options available at starting pitching. Do you just immediately give the ball to Ty Horn to go against Oklahoma with what he did for you on Sunday? Or do you go to Will Walsh or Jackson Brockett, which what Jackson Brockett did against Penn State? I mean, Jackson Brockett did against Oregon. So you have a lot of options. And so I like their chances to at least be playing meaningful baseball on Sunday in the regional. I don't know if they're going to be able to get out of it. I mean, I can't say that I've scouted North Carolina to know exactly what they are. But again, I think this Nebraska team has the ability to be interesting. I think much, much better than last year where you drew the Florida team that nobody wanted to play. I think you feel better about Nebraska's chances and maybe stealing a regional. I just don't think it's the most likely thing that's going to happen.
Mike Schaefer with us from Husker 247. Mike Schaefer, what do you want the next iteration of the college football playoff to look like?
Is it okay if I say that I'm fine with the current 12-team setup and I'd just be okay with second-round home games?
That's very much okay.
For those teams that have a bye. Like, I feel like I've said this a few different times. I feel like I've turned into this person who hates change, but I kind of want college football and college athletics to, like, have a few years where we let things breathe a little bit.
Thank you.
We're not in the lab tinkering. I'm tired of the tinkering. I'm tired of hearing Greg Sankey talk about anything, quite frankly. I need a moratorium on Greg Sankey. Like the SEC doesn't deserve to have 5 teams in the playoff every year. They don't deserve to have 4 teams in the playoff every year. They didn't deserve to have 4 teams in the playoff last year, period. And so, listening to some of this conversation to get it to 16, like what the SEC needs and then what the Big Ten needs. I just wish there was someone who was involved that cared about how college football is presented to everyone else, rather than just this is what the SEC needs, and this is what the Big Ten requires, and everyone else gets to fight for table scraps. Like, just give me a playoff format, let them play it on the field. I was hopeful that the 12 was going to be good. I thought this last year was great. And the only real change I want is just home sites for the second round, so those teams get the opportunity to play in front of their fans at least once. I think that's a greater reward than even just the bye itself. So, but that's not where we're headed. And I feel like when they get to the 16-team system, it's going to be a year or two and there's going to be complaints. And then, eventually we're just going to have the top 8 teams from the Big Ten and the top 8 teams from the SEC playing some Trev Alberts tournament. Like, that's what it's going to be called. It won't even be the college football playoff.
Some Trev Alberts tournament. I like that.
The Trev Alberts tournament. Where would they play that? Like, what would be the dividing point between the Big Ten and the SEC? Like, does St. Louis, does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, you could put it at the old Rams Stadium. I think they have a UFL team.
Yeah, and you get a replica arch. That's your national championship.
There you go. The old, I don't know if it's called the Edward Jones Dome.
Yeah, it used to be the RCA Dome, I think, way back in the day.
No, that's Indy. The RCA Dome is Indy.
Was that Indy? Okay, all right. So then maybe it was just the Edward Jones Dome. But I'm fine with it. Let's put it in St. Louis. Let's get Tubi to televise all the games. It'll be great.
I'm with you, man. Like, I have stopped like all this back and forth and all this politicking between the sides and the Big Ten and the SEC and whatever they're all talking about. It's got to the point for me where I'm just like, all right, guys, we have to stop. Can we just not change it? And I'm at the point where it's like, just give me a playoff format, give me something that I can work with, and then we'll all adjust from there, because that's what we've always done. Because we all know what the next version is. The next version is going to be, for whatever reason, incredibly convoluted and have a combination of all the things that we've talked about. It'll make sense and it won't, all at the same time. Whatever it is, skip to it and get me there, because I'm over all the conversation about it.
Is there any part of you that's also just grown tired of college athletics, with the conversation that exists of like, oh, this conference is so deep, we have to reward all of these teams with national seeds and all? Like, you look at SEC baseball, you look at SEC softball, and I know it's just a lot of SEC here, but SEC basketball, like, being the 13th team out of 16 in your conference shouldn't be rewarded with an NCAA tournament berth if you're not good enough to get there. I'm looking at you, Texas. Mm-hmm. And, I'm talking basketball there. But, like, and then you turn around and you have all these national seeds in softball and baseball. Like, how are you supposed to know if these teams are that much better if we just declare they're good at the front, they beat each other up continually as they play each other, and then we just declare that they're all still the best?
Yeah.
Like, I just don't. It's all just so annoying, and it almost like it exists just so we have something to talk about year round. So ESPN can send out Stephen A. Smith or whoever else needs to debate on it. But I don't know. I hate this time for college athletics because I feel like all we have is to just be able to debate stuff, and there's not enough games, and there's not enough action, and there's not the things that you actually care about in sports. It's just a lot of conjecture.
Would you like to know, because what you said there in the vicious cycle, it really jogged my brain. So here's and not to throw this particular team under the bus, would you like to know what LSU baseball's non-conference strength of schedule was this year?
Their best win was against Nebraska, wasn't it?
Correct. 221. They played Purdue, Fort Wayne, a 3-game series against Omaha, Southern, Nebraska. They did play K-State, Sam Houston, North Dakota State, North Alabama, and Xavier. And basically that was their non-con schedule. And
then compare that with UConn, which gets left out of the tournament for Kentucky.
Exactly.
Because Kentucky won a few games against Oklahoma at the end of the year.
Yep.
So we got to reward the Wildcats at 29-27 because Florida made it to the CWS last. Like, just a joke. UConn played a great non-conference schedule. They won games that mattered. They, I think, were either first or second in the Big East. And then they're sitting at home while, Kentucky's getting called as an at-large. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah. And not to mention, UConn, so the other deal with UConn is that they started their conference schedule early. They played Xavier in like week 0 of the Big East schedule this year. So they had the last weekend free and open. They had Oklahoma State on the hook. And then for whatever reason, I can't remember why, but Oklahoma State backed out or it fell through. And so they ended up having to play Maine, which was RPI 195 in the final weekend of the regular season before they went to the Big East tournament. And then they didn't win the Big East tournament either, which sort of, I mean, that really hurts when you think about the margin for error for those type of teams.
Yeah, and the thing that I find dumb about it is that UConn baseball has been good for a while. Like, they went and stiffed a program that has actually been good. They took Florida State to the limit last year in a region. They have played in the College World Series. They have produced Major League Baseball players. Like, this isn't some fly-by-night program. Like, UConn baseball has been better than Kentucky baseball over the last decade. And yet, for whatever reason, we're just going to determine that Kentucky going 29-27 is good enough for them over a team that won 40 games. I think they swept Miami. They played a better non-conference, but they played in the Big East, and that's not good enough.
Well, it's messed up. Anything else we should be looking at in terms of recruiting or anything? I mean, I know they're back from a football perspective next week, and Dylan Raiola's got some pass catchers working out this week in Texas. What are we watching for this week, Nebraska related?
Yeah, this week probably not much. I think coaches are largely on vacation before they start a really critical June period coming up. Next week is going to be huge. They have the 7-on-7 event that they're going to be hosting on June 6th, I believe. That's the Friday for next week. And honestly, Connor, this feels a bit of a throwback to the kind of Mike Riley-esque Friday Night Lights that were just loaded. If they're able to get some of these teams and some of these players that are expected to come out, there's going to be a lot of talent in Lincoln next Friday. And this is an event that has a chance to become an annual thing. I think they've kind of snuck it in under the radar and used some loopholes to get this level of talent to Lincoln, where they're going to play in a 7-on-7. But, oh, by the way, you're going to be in Nebraska's facilities. You're going to be around, Nebraska's campus and eating at Nebraska's training table and all of this sort of stuff. So it kind of functions like an unofficial visit for some of the top players in the country for 26, 27, 28. And it's really kind of a sneaky coup from Nebraska. And then on top of that, they're going to have their first big visit weekend of 3 in a row. They only have 4 commitments right now. It's going to be a smaller class, so it's not like they have to go get 20 guys. But it's a big, big month ahead. And so it's kind of the calm before the storm. But there's a lot that's going to be happening in the month of June. When we talk Monday next week, it's going to be, pretty busy from that point forward going into the end of the month.
All right, Schaefer. Thanks for just chit chatting with me as friends do. Even if you forgot when my birthday was, that's okay.
I apologize. I don't have your birthday committed to memory.
That's okay.
One of these days.
Are you on Facebook anymore? Because that's normally how you know what people's birthdays are.
I am, but it's not like a thing that I go look to see whose birthday it is generally. Like it's just I don't, even if here's the other thing, and this is, I'm just outing myself as a really bad person. Even if I saw that it was someone's birthday, I would then have to do the mental calculation of what my relationship is to them. And then if it's necessary for me to wish them a happy birthday. I can't just wish random people that I'm friends with on Facebook a happy birthday, right. Apparently. There's like a degree in there to it because
you just
at heart I'm some version of Larry David.
I'm just exactly thinking that you just created the next episode of Seinfeld 2025. Congratulations.
Well, happy to help.
See you, Schaefer.
See you guys.
Mike Schaefer, Husker 247. You can check out his work there. And then if you're friends on Facebook, he might remember your birthday, but he'll have to do a whole big mental calculation on how good of a friend he is with you before he ends up doing that. All right, quick timeout. We'll be back. Still a couple more things left to get into, and a couple more CAGS tickets. They're Omaha Storm Chasers tickets, but we're calling them CAGS tickets tonight. He's talking to the media right now. Ticket giveaway brought to you by Valor Sports Cards, teaming up with the Storm Chasers and us to get as many of you as we possibly can out to the CAGS Omaha debut tonight. So be caller number 4 right now at 402-951-1620. Caller number 4, 402-951-1620. And we got a 4-pack of tickets for you for tonight, 6:35. The Storm Chasers take on the St. Paul Saints. Once again, caller number 4, 951-1620. We're back after this on The Zone. All right, we just had another winner of the tickets to Jack Caglione's home debut tonight at Werner Park as a member of the Omaha Storm Chasers. Oh, Cags. He was not in Arkansas for very long. He hit a lot of bombs there, and then he has spent a week so far as a member of the Omaha Storm Chasers in AAA, and playing at a higher altitude. But hitting 5 home runs in his first 6 games is, I'd say, pretty good. So what will Cags do tonight? And how long will he be in Omaha? My response to that question is probably not very long. So when we give away these tickets and we have the opportunity for you guys to go out there, realize that there probably won't be very many. Just telling how it is. Probably won't be very many. So go. Like, pressure is high. Go check out the Storm Chasers. What we learned quickly, we were just talking about it with Schaefer quite a bit there, from the NCAA tournament selection show yesterday. So what are the mid-majors supposed to do? Let's just have this conversation for like 5 to 7 minutes here. What are the mid-majors supposed to do? Make no mistake about it, the Big East is a mid-major conference in baseball. And UConn and Xavier, for that matter, they took it upon themselves to go outside of their comfort zone and schedule. Some of that is because of weather, but UConn really put themselves through hell in the first couple weeks, months of the season. They played in a tournament where they played USC, UCLA, and Vanderbilt. They played at FAU. They played a 3-game series at Miami. They played at Duke. They played at North Carolina. They played at Greensboro. They played Northeastern a couple times in the midweek. That's not but that ended up being a pretty good deal for them RPI-wise. They're one of the best 2 seeds in the country in this tournament. So they scheduled, and it wasn't just intent to schedule. They won some of those games. They won the series from Miami. They beat Vanderbilt, and they beat North Carolina. So that's 3 teams in the NCAA tournament, 2 of which are national seeds that UConn beat. Then they went through the entire Big East. After that, they basically stay on the road. They played 2 home games up until their second Big East weekend of the year, which was the first Big East weekend of the year for everybody else, including Creighton. They had played 2 games at home to that point when they came to Omaha and lost 2 out of 3. And then they basically didn't lose again. They won 25 out of 27 going into the Big East tournament. And the 2 losses were to Northeastern and Rutgers, both midweek games. But they didn't lose. They went 17-4 in the conference. They tied with Creighton. They lost because of the tiebreaker. They got the 2 seed because of the tiebreaker. They lost to Xavier once in the Big East tournament and then came back and beat them in the game to get to the championship game, the elimination game. And then they lost to Creighton in the final. No shame in that, right? Creighton's going to the NCAA tournament, and you lost to them by 1 game in the regular season and 1 game in the postseason. And you had a good RPI and you scheduled. What are you supposed to do? It's a really tough question. It's a really, really difficult question to answer. And J.R. Teagues, the selection committee chair yesterday, he was a former baseball coach, by the way, and now is the AD at Southeastern Louisiana. He was like, this was really hard because the big conferences with all of their scheduling things now have made it even more confusing and really difficult for teams who just go for large swaths of their season that don't play quality competition. But I will remind people to reverse it back the other way. I said it before, but pull any of those SEC teams, pull their non-conference schedules. Obviously, what they're getting in conference is amazing, but they have figured out a formula where I put LSU under the microscope the first time. So let's just say LSU, right? Their RPI is 10. Here's who they played in the non-con. I know what their conference is. In the non-con, they played Purdue, Fort Wayne, Southern, Omaha, Nichols, Dallas Baptist, good. K-State, Nebraska, Sam Houston State in the tournament. North Dakota State, North Alabama, Xavier, New Orleans, Louisiana. Right? And then they have some midweeks against some local schools throughout the remainder, more local schools throughout the remainder of the season. But the answer is nobody. Their non-con strength of schedule was 221. So the formula is for those type of teams, and especially, I mean, take who was the team that made it. I mean, the Florida of this year is Kentucky. They went 13-17 in the SEC this year. Their non-con strength of schedule 191. They played Lipscomb, Belmont, Evansville, Morehead State, Hofstra, Eastern Kentucky, Wofford, Northern Illinois, Murray State, who made the NCAA tournament, Xavier, right? They didn't schedule much, and yet they went 13-17 in the SEC, and their RPI, after going 29-24 in the regular season, their RPI ended up being 38, and that was, I mean, if it basically came down to Kentucky versus UConn, it seemed like for a couple of those final spots, and the SEC team is always the team that gets chosen for whatever reason. The SEC team is always the team. They lost, by the way. Kentucky did in their first round SEC game against Oklahoma, right? So they didn't do really anything. They picked up a couple wins in conference. They have a series sweep against Oklahoma. They won 2 out of 3 against Tennessee, which is a great thing to their resume. And it's something that a lot of other bubble teams like UConn don't really have. Even though UConn tried to schedule and they won 2 out of 3 against Miami. But it came down to those margins right there. And that is what ended up getting them in. So what are the mid-major teams to do? It's really difficult. So I've heard this suggested now is that schools in mid-major conferences could potentially, in essence, delete their conference schedule and just play a conference tournament. You're free and available to schedule whoever, wherever, whenever in your regular season, all the way throughout it. We'll come through with a conference tournament at the end of the year to decide the auto bid. We'll seed you based on your record, and that's what we'll do. But there's no Big East play. So basically, it's saying teams who, Big East, for example, basically it's saying teams who want to be good at baseball can be good at baseball. But if you don't want to be good at baseball, then you're not hurting any of the teams that want to be good at baseball, because that's what's happening. That's what's happening in the Big East. We could say that definitively. Half of the schools don't want to be good at baseball. They don't care about being good at baseball. And so they don't invest in it. Half of the schools do. The schools that don't want to be good are harming the schools that do want to be good. No better example than what we saw yesterday with Xavier and UConn. Mostly UConn. Xavier tried to schedule. They're trying to be good. They didn't win enough games. I understand that. UConn getting left out is tough for the conference. So maybe that's an idea that, for schools that want to be good, they can go out and they can be good. Good question from Platcat. Would Val even notice, Val Ackerman, the commissioner of the Big East, who was on site at the Big East tournament at Prasco Park, would Val even notice if CU at Xavier and UConn only played each other? Doesn't seem to know baseball exists. Hey, she was there. She handed out the trophies. I watched it with my own eyes. But I don't know. Yeah, she came in on the championship day. I don't know. It's and then you match up, how the conference wants to be good at they want to be good at basketball, and they want to spend all their money and resources on basketball and stuff like that. I mean, maybe it makes a lick of sense. Maybe it makes some sense. But it's really, really difficult for those mid-major schools right now, and especially teams in the Big East. And I mostly feel bad for the ones who want to be good, because they're getting drugged down by the teams in their conference who don't want to be good. Once again, UConn had Oklahoma State on the hook for their final weekend. They lost that series for whatever reason. They had to play Maine. Was that the difference between UConn making the NCAA tournament, not making the NCAA tournament. Was a series getting wiped out between Clemson and Florida State a difference between one of those schools being a national seed and not being a national seed? Maybe because of a tragedy that happened on the Florida State campus. I mean, maybe when it comes down to the numbers, it is that close. All right, let's take a quick break. We'll come back. We got the polls. We'll tell you what to watch. Coming up next on 1620 The Zone. All right, I've just been sent a picture of Jack Caglione wearing Omaha Storm Chasers stuff. Here we go. He's been wearing it for the
It's
last
here.
week, but it's like it's been fake because he's been in Salt Lake City. Nick Batters, I look forward to. He'll be busy tonight, but I'm still going to bother him for 10 minutes tonight before the game starts. I'm pretty excited to be out at the ballpark tonight, and congrats to all our winners, and thanks to Valor Sports Cards for helping us out with giving away those tickets today, and of course the Omaha Storm Chasers. To the polls, Peterman. We had a couple of them today. Thanks for getting these up.
Yeah.
Should Connor journey to the hog pen? Yes. I'm gonna walk out there. Arkansas will play during the day on Friday, and I'll be out. I'm not gonna like do the hog pen, but I'll
in the middle.
I'll be out there. Yeah. 84% say yes. Have you ever had a vanity license plate? I have not. No.
Neither have I.
65% say no. And finally, do you like your lobster roll hot or cold? I'm going cold. I'm going Maine.
Seems like people like the Connecticut.
Yep. 63% are saying hot. You ever had a lobster roll, Peterman?
Admittedly, I didn't want to admit this when Michael was here. I have never had a lobster roll. I was embarrassed.
There is some good. That one that I had today was really good. The one that Michael gave me.
And now Sandpoint, is that what he said?
I believe that's right.
All right.
Yes.
Well, now I have to go try that.
Yeah, go check that out. But get a good one.
I'm not. It's not like I'm anti seafood. Like I enjoy seafood. I just, for whatever reason, I've never had a lobster.
They tend to get a little expensive with the lobster, but it's worth it. It's a worthwhile venture.
Smelled fantastic.
All right, Peter. What do we have? What are we watching tonight? Anything? Cags.
We've got our bit. Yeah, we're on Cags Watch. It's official. It's happening tonight. And then East Finals Game 4 TNT 7:00. Indiana looks to go up 3-1. Or will the Knicks send it back to New York?
Bing bong.
Tied at 2. Back to New York. West Finals Game 4 Stanley Cup playoffs. Edmonton can go up 3-1, or the Stars can send it back to Dallas tied up. That will be on ESPN at 7, so simultaneous starts there.
Look at that.
And then this is just for me.
Oh, I love it.
I don't know how many people are even going to care.
No, I love it when you insert your own flavor.
I love America's Got Talent, and it is back tonight, 7:00 on NBC. Season 20, baby. Season 20 is starting tonight.
Peterman says, "I love America's Got Talent."
I eat it up. I love it.
Good job. Everybody's got a guilty pleasure show.
It's fantastic.
Awesome. Peter, thanks for being here today.
Yes.
Enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll see you at the ballpark. That'll do it for us today. If you missed anything, 1620thezone.com is where you can find it. The crossover is coming up next.